All right, we're good. It's 5:30. Let's please stand for the pledge and a brief moment of silence for our September meeting. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we have a lot of items on the agenda for this evening. We'll need to approve that in advance. I didn't hear what you said, Jason.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a first. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. It's unanimous. Brett, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, so it's that time of year again where the PAC contributions, and I'll let Ryan kind of give an update on it. But anyway, I laid a card out for everyone, and I think the due date usually for that is
preferably before the end of the year.
Yeah, you want to get it in before then though, because the annual meeting. Yeah.
There's a couple weeks of December, so.
Yeah, I would say within the next month or so, please get those contributions in. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Ryan Hadley. Ryan is official title, government relations guru, maybe, I guess, lobbyist. I didn't know if that's considered like a, Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to hand it over to Ryan and let him give you guys a PAC update from IEC.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me with your guys' busy schedule. I will try to keep it brief, but also this is very much a conversation. I have a few slides just to kind of help go through some of the talking points, but feel free to interrupt at any point. First, my name is Ryan Hadley, Director of Policy and Government Relations, been with IEC for almost a year now. Prior to that, I spent about a decade in state government, serving various capacities and roles with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and in the Office of Energy Development. So great to be with co-op space and with you all and supporting you all in the state advocacy and helping the team on the federal side as well. So just a bit of a recap of session which happened January through April this year, 2025. And then I'll kind of just not necessarily talk about the specific bill, but just kind of categorize the topics that we talked about, last session, what we're seeing kind of this interim period, what we anticipate state legislative session might look like in the 2026 session related to energy. So a lot of discussion and topics were revolved around resource generation, resource adequacy, reliability, affordability, and site. Those were kind of the key themes in the energy space that we really hit on. And so there was a lot of conversation about new and emerging technologies on the generation side. So small modular nuclear reactors has captivated the state legislature for several sessions now, actually, culminating in a big bill, House Bill 1007, that provided some tax credits and incentives, continuing to incentivize the pathway to bring SMRs to Indiana, both to actually manufacture and build them, and then actually for utilities to put them in their resource portfolios and actually generate electricity from them. I think there's clear acknowledgement for the most part that these are long-term outlooks. SMRs will not be built overnight. It takes almost a decade just to get through the regulatory process, let alone actually building them and getting them integrated into the grid. So, but there's a lot of excitement. They're seen as a base load reliable resource that you can call upon, and there's zero carbon resources. And so I think there's a lot of interest seeing how nuclear might play a bigger role within the state generation. So that kind of went in conjunction with on more of the resource advocacy side, load growth. That's also an emerging topic that has really been part of the process. So there was some legislation to kind of move the regulatory process a little bit quicker when it comes to data centers and large load users. If they have everything ready to go and they're contributing 80% more to the overall cost that they're going to create on the system, then it allowed basically a fast lane for them to go through the regulatory process quicker with the utility and be able to start building the distribution, the transmission, and the generation assets that may be needed for those data centers. So the state, from a policy standpoint, has generally been favorable for data centers, understanding and acknowledging the siting challenges, local challenges that come with it as well. And speaking of siting, there was a bill last session that was fairly controversial that attempted to override local control when it came to the siting of certain generation resources. Took various forms throughout the life of session. Locals, strongly opposed it. And we saw many iterations of that bill. Ultimately, the bill died. It did not receive a final committee vote to move it forward. But it did spur a lot of conversation on what is the state's role versus the local role when it comes to energy generation siting and making sure that we have enough resources to be able to meet the needs that are coming for the state of Indiana. So we fully expect that would be an ongoing conversation. I think a couple weeks ago, or last week, excuse me, Secretary Jaworowski, who's the Secretary of Energy and Natural Resources for Governor Braun, mentioned siting at a luncheon that was moderated by Brian Peter, my boss, and essentially she put it right back on the table for next session. So we don't expect the siting conversation to go away. Energy, electricity, gas, data centers, economic development in general, I think is all up for debate session. So we'll kind of see what happens there. We're also seeing a lot on the affordability front. We continue to see a lot of pressure from the administration, Governor Braun, after the AES rate case announcement has put a lot of pressure on AES Indiana and the investor utilities in general about their rates. So we're seeing a lot of the use of the bully pulpit, it's called, to have a conversation about affordability and rate making. So far, we think it's mostly directed to those that are in rate cases now, but obviously the conversation of affordability is incredibly important for the industry. So we think that will be probably the biggest topic of session. Now, whether that comes up in a potential upcoming special session where they're going to go in for potential redistricting, they might, they can add additional topics to that. Energy can be one of those. So we have to kind of see what they're going to do on that front. So it could be special session as early as next month, or it could be in a normal short session, which will be a sprint to figure out, hey, what are some affordability solutions that the legislature and the governor can agree on, and what does that do for us? So we'll be on the lookout for that next session as well. Just to touch base a little bit on federal issues. So the federal government funding expires on September 30th. So I think we are 6 days away from that. That House, as I understand it, passed a continuing resolution, and they up and left DC. So they're out. They won't come back until after September 30th. This is their plan. So now it's up to the Senate whether or not they agree with the concurrent resolution. And I was just on the phone with Ryan Peters, who worked with NRECA a lot on these federal issues, and he suggested perhaps a greater than 50% chance right now of actually the government shutdown. That the Senate Democrats, they need the Senate Democrats to vote for that. And there's some contention there. And so they don't think that there will be agreement by September 30th to forestall a government shutdown. So Nothing's ever final in Washington DC, but right now, kind of the intent is pointed towards the direction of they may end up having the government shut down for at least a handful of days before they figure something out. On the Farm Bill, this kind of got split up a little bit from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. It addressed, some of the Farm Bill provisions that are typically carried within that traditional bill that was able to go through the reconciliation process, but there were other key components that were not. And so right now, it kind of seems that they may just pass an extender of the Farm Bill. I think the last time they actually passed a Farm Bill in the fall was maybe 2018, 2019. So it's been, a handful of years now since they've actually gone through and did something more substantive than extending it. So amazing kind of seeing what the Congress is going to do with that, but kind of anticipate probably just extending on that. The FEMA Reform Act, which is a bill that actually just passed the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, that NRACA supports that. We support that bill. Kind of tries to modernize FEMA, make the process for disaster recovery, getting reimbursement from them for eligible expenses, makes that faster. Right now, it's very slow. It takes years for that process to play out, and is otherwise, unworkable. I think there's some that advocate for the total abolishment of FEMA. NRACA is not taking that approach. It's more of, we need the agency, but there needs to be some fixes and some changes to that. And so the FEMA Reform Act that passed the House is in a pretty good position, and we like that. And so hopefully that'll continue moving through Congress as things progress. Just some general updates, things that we do throughout the year. So some of this is in hindsight, but also looking forward. In April, we had our legislative conference, went out to Washington, D.C. It's a great time to be able to catch up with our colleagues in other states. I think Indiana had the third largest presence there with about 80 folks at the conference. So it was a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate the strength of Indiana and our presence in front of our colleagues, our peers, and also with our congressional delegation. I think we had 5 or 6 out of the 9 congressional offices come in and be able to provide updates and answer questions from us on priorities. So it's a great time to interact with them. And so that next conference will be held at the end of April again this year. And so really would love to see you guys come out and have that conversation with us and be able to experience it for yourselves. Youth tour last month, a group of young students went out to Washington, D.C. We bring them out there and give them a tour of state capitol, or excuse me, federal capitol, and be able to interact with some legislators. I think they had a great experience and asked some really great questions of legislators. Really had a good time learning the process, learning about our federal. Just last week, Major Donor Paul Flying, we took our major donors for the PAC the opportunity to go out to Washington, D.C. and interact with our delegation on a very informal basis at a Nationals ball game. Unfortunately, this year it got rain delayed for about 2 hours. So, and it was at the end of their season. So we kind of had a long night, but it was a great opportunity, be able to just kind of have a beer, break bread, and just chat with folks. My colleague Michael Charbonneau ended up, playing a game of pool with Congressman Young in the suite. And so it's really just a good opportunity to kind of have that informal touch base. Our appreciation dinner this year, November 17th, again at Ruth's Chris, and we invite actually the invitation today went out to all members of the General Assembly. We typically sell out the entire restaurant and have anywhere between 250 and 300 people show up to be able to participate in that. So really looking forward to that. Again, it's always a great success. We always get positive feedback from members of the General Assembly, and it's one of the premier events. We often have to answered questions from other trade associations or lobbying groups asking when is our dinner, because they always know that's on co-op night and they never want to conflict with that dinner. So it's really a great opportunity. So just a quick PAC update. As you guys know, we have our state PAC, we have our federal PAC. This is, honestly, our opportunity to advocate for you all. It gives us the tools and the ability to be able to represent our values and the cooperative principles and express that to the state legislature, to our congressional delegation. So we really use this as a tool and try to get a return on that investment, on your investment, and enable us to do our job even better than without it. So, appreciate your evaluation of your contribution. If you contributed in the past, thank you so much for it. Truly is a significant resource, a significant tool. Coming from state government, this was a very foreign thing, and so watching how effective it is and how effective we are in being able to utilize these dollars has been an amazing process to be part of. Obviously, we're not the largest PAC that gets involved at the state level or the federal level, but we certainly punch above our weight when it comes to those investments. It allows us to really deeply interact with key legislators. These are strategic investments and champions for the co-ops and for us. It allows us to support them so that they can continue supporting us. And we've seen a lot of support over the last several years when it comes to the co-op space. I think if you remember the Senate Bill 502 from last session when it came to poll attachments, that's quite a contentious issue and debate. But the ability for us to be able to reach out and have that conversation with committee members, to be able to bring that bill back into a form and a manner that was reasonable and that we could live with. It really demonstrated the value of the relationships that we build in no small part because of the PAC opportunities that we have. Really appreciate all your guys' support of us, the government relations team. And if you do have any detailed questions about our methods or strategies and how we utilize the dollars, I'd be happy to have that conversation. But really do appreciate your consideration of that. And then I'll just end here with kind of just an update on our grassroots network. So we've had the grassroots network for a while now, probably for the better part of a decade. It's gone through iterative stages of use and inactive statuses. It's kind of, I call it the nuclear button. If we're really having a problem in the state legislature, we have a grassroots network of 50,000 people that have signed up for this thing over the years to be able to go and say, hey, reach out to your legislator, call your legislator, tell them why this is an issue, and be able to bring thousands of voices to the state house to be able to reinforce the message that we're giving. So it's an effective tool. We've seen a lot of other organizations use grassroots efforts to really move things forward or pull things back, depending on their perspective. So we've been starting that process of re-energizing and re-engaging the grassroots network through monthly messages, just kind of educating on key topics and certain things about co-ops. So we will continue doing that through monthly themed messages just to keep them aware of the issues and be prepared to utilize in case we ever want to be a well-oiled machine if that time comes. So if you're not on the grassroots message and you want to be, please let me know. I'm happy to get you guys signed up. This is available for members and employees to kind of understand kind of the political processing and where things are heading on certain topics. So with that, I try to be really quick to appreciate your guys' time. Happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Please. You brought up the first one, and that was the siding issue.
Yes.
I read an article last week that the secretary was quoted saying that she was willing to take action. I wrote it down so I make sure I got it right. She's willing to take action until the legislature can do something about it. So what does that mean and what's really within her authority to do to try and fast track this?
So in Indiana, the legislature is the premier authority when it comes to these things. The executive branch doesn't have a whole lot of statutory authority. It's more of the bully pulpit and nodding, prodding, encouraging. So I think they're going to, my guess is try to dangle some carrots. What those carrots are, I do not know.
I asked the question because we just recently had a zoning board that denied an application of a large solar project, and now it's getting. But I didn't know if there was anything at the state level that would be coming from her specifically. Since
I mean, they can have conversations. They can drag locals in and try to browbeat them a little bit. But the short answer is any substantive change to occur on the side of the front is going to have to go to the legislature.
My second question kind of is on the same vein in the data center spectrum. So, we're starting to see a little bit of pushback locally for some proposed data centers for lots of reasons. But some states like Texas, for instance, they're getting involved in trying to help, like trying to make the load interruptible, for instance, for some data center. A lot of those do not want to be interrupted. And, there are concerns for grid security and reliability and all those kinds of things. So is the state in a position that they're really advocating for data centers enough that they would try and interject themselves and do something like that in Indiana?
That's a great question. I don't see the state getting too far down the path where they're trying to insert specific missions that would otherwise be captured in like a utilities era. I think there's a recognition that there are key decisions that are made in rooms like these that need to remain in rooms like these rather than the state kind of controlling or mandating a one-size-fits-all pathway. I do think, however, though, there is a strong feeling within the legislature that growth pays for growth, and that data centers should not necessarily be subsidized by other rate makers. And I think House 107 was one of their solid first instances of saying that, where basically, if a data center wants to come in and utilize special processes and have access to certain specialized regulatory processes, then you have to pay them. And you need to foot the bill for 80% of your expected cost to serve. You tell a utility, I'm going to need a gigawatt of power, and they go out and build that gigawatt of power, and you only end up using 500 megawatts. Too bad, you're going to pay for that gigawatt of power. It's not going to be subsidized. So I think you're going to see some continued policy movement on that front. We're going to set out these broad parameters of, reliability, affordability, making sure those subsidizations don't happen. But I do think they'll stop. There will be a line in the sand of, okay, what are some certain elements of decision making to be left with utilities and not just state policy.
Ryan Edsolity talked about that again today, right? He brought it up again today and reinforced they put that law as 80-20. If you're going to bring a large load, you bring 80 with you, and 20 is for expansion. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I think
other states are taking notice and doing that. That's the reason I asked.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I think was it Ohio that also, I think maybe it was a utility tariff that requires them to be interrupted loads. So I think there's going to be a lot of different policy solutions, and then in years to come, I think they'll kind of coalesce around, okay, what was the best, what was the ideal.
What other questions might the board have, Ryan? You enjoyed the youth tour?
I wasn't able to go.
Oh, you weren't able to go, okay.
But we, Brian Peter said that there was some great feedback. And I don't remember how many students were there, but there was quite a handful of really good questions. He was
Good. And then I know there were two from this area that attended.
And I apologize, I'm back in the, I got some remaining congestion. Features yet, there's that is going to. I apologize, process. Well, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it. At any point in time, you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, state, federal. Just want to talk politics, live and breathe it. So this is my, always happy to be a resource for you all. Thank you again for your support for us and for IEC. We're lucky to be able to serve you guys. Represent such a great group in front of the State House.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
Ryan, thank you for your guys' advocacy at the State House. We are well respected as an IEC. We've got a voice that goes down the aisle, both sides of the aisle. And so appreciate your guys' work. They got a really strong team there. So with that,
Thank
I'll
you.
let you guys get through it. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Thank you. Unless you really want to stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Travis.
So for anybody that does want to participate, I'd suggest by the end of November or a little bit earlier. But
Sooner the better, because they'll print it's usually, I think, about a month before the annual meeting. They'll print the thing that'll have the names in it of the folks that.
yeah, participate. All right, let's go on to the safety minute and cool moment. Yeah.
All right, so safety moment. I think I do this one every year, but obviously harvest season's underway. So make sure that we all talk to our farmers and be cautious of overhead power lines. Obviously, the equipment's getting taller, and that's my safety moment. And then for a cool moment, we did have our trust, our Roundup Trust meeting. And so they awarded $16,288. Those are dollars contributed to from members rounding up their bill. And there's a report out for your information. If you have any questions, Amy would be the person to ask, or you can ask me and I'll find out. All right.
All right. Next item then is for your information. Does anybody have any questions related to any of the topics presented under that tab?
Right, you're gonna have that as an action item, so we can put that change.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just so everybody's aware, on our formal complaint form, which is an appendix in the rules and regs, if you read the actual complaint process that we changed a couple of years ago, we wanted to make sure that the members went through the appropriate process. In other words, they start at, hey, if it's a bill complaint, for instance, call the front desk, right? Bretta Planup or you guys are not going to have the answers probably right away, right? So it forces them to go through those channels if it's management and it's not governance, right? And then if they don't get what they need, they can come to the CEO, right, is the next step. And then if they don't get what they need there, they can go to the board. So the idea is that they're going through those processes rather than just coming to you as a board. But if you read the form, it says in the bottom of it, do you request? So it sounds, I mean, if you read it, it sounds like do you want,
It's like giving them options.
it's giving them options of, do you want to meet with the CEO or do you want this to go to the CEO, or well, it's already defined in the policy as far as where it goes and who it needs to go to. So I think it's just a cleanup of that form. So anyway, I'm going to take an open action item for that. I saw that months back and we haven't changed it. So.
Anybody have any other questions or comments related to for your information? We good? All right, let's go on to the next topic of approving last month's meeting minutes. Okay, we got a first and a second, Dale. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Unanimous. The next item then, Brett, is the operational strategic oversight.
Which one? Wayne? Oh, yeah. Sorry, CEO update. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple updates. Fiber project. We did complete the town hall last Thursday. I thought we had relatively decent amount of folks here, I think what, 15 to 20 probably. So some good input there. We actually had, it was interesting, we actually had two folks that currently take Starlink, and one of them signed up that night to take service, and the other one is ready to sign up as soon as we built to him. And they were both addressed. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Really good questions. I think everybody in the room was really kind of excited and, hey, how quick can we get this? So I'd say it's a success. So phase one, we're roughly 110 miles as of today of a 145-mile build. We're on track to complete the construction of all the backbone, the laterals, the MSTs, and the splicing by the end of November. So that's everything basically but the drops, secondary drops by the end of November. So we're still on track for that. We'll be continuing to do drops and new installs into 26 as our approach of rolling out availability. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware that we're rolling out, like not slowly, but we're rolling out to the point where we don't get too many to where a member calls in and it's more than 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks is kind of that's the time frame that we heard from other folks that have done this, that you don't want to tell somebody that you're 2 weeks out and you end up being a month. So we're trying to keep that rollout relatively slow, I guess is the word. So we will have some going into, my best guess is probably end of Q1, where we'll have everything open for phase one. We have contacted, so there are 339 members that are open today. So we've contacted all 339 of those, and on the first call, we were able to get 63 that are active on service, and there's 54 in queue. So that's 117 out of the 339 on the first call. So we felt like that was a really good number to have so far. We will be working on marketing campaigns to target. As you guys remember, we did hire a marketing firm to help us target those members that have not taken service in P1. So we haven't done any of that. This is literally based on one phone call saying, do you want service? And out of the 339 phone calls, 117 of them on the first call said, absolutely, hook me up. We do expect to have all DA2 completed and lighted and ready to test by this week. So that's kind of the next big chunk. And then we did announce in our town hall, we upped our speeds. So that was something I think you guys are already aware of, but we offer now, we did not change the prices. So our light package is 500 by 500. Our pro package is 1 gig by 1 gig. And our max is 2 gigs by 2 gigs. Again, we're keeping the same pricing. And we are actively working on finalizing all the items needed to provide voice services. And we're shooting to have that available by the end of the year. We were actually fairly surprised at how many people have been asking for voice. It's actually well over, which there's not a ton of margin in voice, but it is hitting above what we thought and what was in the business case. I didn't post financials this month, but I will next month. But what I will tell you from a fiber standpoint is we are about, if you look at the construction cost, we're about 1.8 under. So that's make ready, labor, all the construction stuff. So we're about 1.8 under budget on that. And then over budget is the drops. The drops are way more expensive than what we originally had in our business case. Materials are a little bit above, and there's some unbudgeted things like legal we didn't put in there. There are some things that we just didn't budget for that are in there. But all together, we're tracking right now at about $300,000 under budget. Probably gonna be more than that, but right now we didn't want to commit to it just because there's still a lot of unknowns. But the make-readies and the construction costs are well below thought we were. So that's good news. I'm gonna move on to BEAD. So as you know, BEAD, we won 3 project areas. It's a total of 932 addresses. It equated into about a $7.1 million grant. We are working already on combining those 3 projects. So when we submitted those, you have to submit them all 3 as separate projects. You have to build a backbone to get to all 3. Well, we won't obviously build, you build one backbone to get to all of them. So they're redesigning that to find any of the cost savings that might be associated. And we are also getting a total number of home passages as laid out by the backbone and laterals to the grain addresses. So as we're laying out all the backbones and the laterals to get to the grain addresses, we're obviously going to be a lot more that we're going to serve off of that. We don't know what that number is yet, but that's one thing that we're working on right now is the design around that. We are also approaching this phase 2 project to complete a ring of our substations. The way that we got the grants, it's naturally given us a ring. And so we are looking at building this ring large enough that we will be able to have the capacity to grow if needed in the future and have the capacity to serve every member if we choose to in the future. So that is one thing that while we build this, the cost difference between building, 144 pair compared to, something less than that, it's not a big cost driver. And so therefore we're looking at when we do this ring to get to the addresses to oversize it so that we have capacity there. To get anybody that may not be a granted address if we choose to in the future, essentially.
Or somebody who gets to be granted follow through.
Or somebody that gets a big grant in the area that doesn't follow through will already be there. So basically, I submitted, there's a worksheet in your guys' call to order. It summarizes the grant addresses, the number of passes, which again, we really don't know for phase 2 because we're working on designing that right now. It gives you the total build cost, what we got in grants, and then our cost. So you can see we ended up right now, we're about 51.4% granted on total project cost. I look for that to only go up as we save dollars. And as we're redesigning these 3 into 1, the cost of those will probably come down.
Before we leave this page, just so I'm clear, when we're talking about take rates in the future, we're only talking about awarded addresses, correct?
That's the way I would do it because that's what the business case was built on. So I think if you start adding in take rates of non-granted addresses, it muddies the water because your take rate's not going to be near as good on those, right?
So
They got competition.
let's take phase 1, for example. It's 1,400 passings, 565 grand addresses. So are the 565 included in the 1,400 passings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
the
really,
difference is
it's really 1,400 minus 565 is the additional passings.
correct. So non-granted.
So it's, okay, because I was thinking it was another 1,400, but the 1,400 part includes the passings.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and then we'll do that. We'll have that same number for. My suggestion is that we measure like we do our how the business case is put together, which is the grant addresses. Everything else is really just grant. That's the way I think. Good point. Good point. Any other questions on that's fiber?
Yeah, you're going to leave fiber?
Yeah.
I got another question.
Yes, go.
All right, so we're going to start to see, you mentioned financials, are we going to start to see like separate financials for Power Stream?
Yeah, we do have, Matt will get into when we hit the financials as far as balance sheet and stuff like that, but we do have the budget. There's 2 budgets we're tracking. One is lifetime, so it's everything, right? The very beginning of the day. And then there's another budget that we submitted to you guys as a part of our budget package last year. So we're tracking both of them. And the way we're tracking it is, here's what the budget was, here's where our actions are, here's what we're forecasting as of today. So we do have those 2 already. And then he'll get into more as far as the CapEx and it blending into these financials.
So before we get off that, 23.9 million total bills.
Yeah.
So is that a number that we can just expect to add to our top?
It'll be something less than that, but yeah.
You gotta take off the grants though. So the
Yeah.
council-
Oh, they're,
Yeah, not the grants.
they're
They're
excluded.
not
So,
gonna-
but it still costs money to build the plant, but we can't put the grant dollars.
Well, how it works on the electrical side. If I build, if I build something and I get a grant for it, I have that grant against this.
It's no different if a member, so if I
So if you do a line extension and you, it's the net dollars, so
So it's gonna be 12 million dollars.
yeah.
And then will fiber assets be depreciated on a schedule that's similar to the electric business components? Or are those gonna be accelerated in some way because of technology?
At this point, we're actually discussing, because since the first customers got lit up here, we're gonna start to capitalize some of the costs that are in 183.33. That's the account that all the fiber's been going into.
Okay.
So we're deciding exactly what the life we're gonna use.
Or there's some kind of
You have
standard?
a schedule or appreciation schedule already for you?
I think you could use 20 or 30. It's kind of, you could argue both. It's not like our US tells you it's X.
So like makers or you're on a set schedule?
It'll be straight line. I mean, it'll, because it's not, I mean, it's not, we're not taxed, so it's, you just appreciate straight line.
And the quick appreciation piece of it, that's typically done on the electronic side of it, which
Most of what we have is the fiber main line, so it's gonna be longer. I mean, there's not,
In other words, that's the I.
They're gonna have, they've got to be put, that's.
they're gonna appreciate the electronics.
Our APSS or what is long, it's a long, yeah.
Yeah,
But maybe not as long as pole.
I think it'd be longer.
well,
Yeah, that's what they're hoping.
but we're not gonna put it any more than, the highest it will be is 30 years.
So you've got members that are signed up right now and taking service as of today. So those, you're building those financials, like where does that show up?
If you look at the key revenue sheet in there, you can see the one line for the $1,500 we got in fiber.
Yeah, I mean, it's minor at this
Yes.
point.
1,500 though?
Yeah.
So we won't have a separate profit loss balance sheet with just fiber. Is that gonna be too hard to do for us or?
My plan is as we get up and going, we'll probably do something like that next year. As we build the budget for next year, it'll make more sense to try to segregate.
Because I would like to see that. It'd be easier to.
I think we have, I second that emotion, and if we're not planning that, then I think that's something, I mean, I know we're.
I mean, we are segregating the accounts right now in the system between 0 and 1, between REMC and PowerStream to give that setup.
My expectation was what, the exact same.
Right now, there's not enough stuff to really justify.
Right, but that's by January that we'll solve.
Yeah.
So by January, we'll start seeing fiber financial.
But with no,
Yes.
with no revenues and. Right. Yeah.
But by then, there'll actually be something going on, so it'll be,
But
it's actually
mostly
something to see.
just be an income statement and then the balance sheet would just. there'll be
Well, what would you
balance
like to
sheet
see?
that'll flow over
I
to
guess
it.
that's the question, is what would you like to see?
I would expect.
I see a basic profit and loss.
My assumption is we'd give you an income statement, a balance sheet, and then we'd show it all rolled up.
But will the balance sheet be on with?
They'll be separate. I'll be able to run them separate, this way we're gonna be able
Although you
to.
get both, so you'll get two and then.
Yeah.
one.
We're gonna be able to pull it apart, is how we're setting it
And
up.
that's not gonna be a big deal once we start seeing who wants something different.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, like I said, we're segregating all the accounts, that fiber is a fiber and RMC is an RMC. When it'll get tricky is when you allocate different things based off of, that could go both ways, yeah. That's gonna be more,
You mean like a wages, for instance? or
no, wages are gonna be coded. Already we record our time. So that's why if you look at our thing, right, our financials right now, if you look at Department 5 and all 4 and most of the departments, we're under budget for the year on wages because any time that's been coded to RF meters or fiber is getting capitalized. So on that sheet that Brett has, there's been, the time that has been spent on fiber is not being charged to the electrical business. It's being pulled out and put to the fiber business.
But a truck is a good example. So if we do a certain,
Well,
how we do our manning depends on, we may have the same truck, right? That truck may need to use some for fiber, but maybe.
and it'll be based on the hour. I mean, it's the same way today when we do our work orders. If your work order, they assign the hours that they were in the truck. It's all labor time based. It's how it's, and it'll get shifted right with it.
Is that assignment done at the employee level?
Yes.
Reviewed by the supervisor? I mean, I don't.
The employee assigns their truck, so we have a discussion at least once a year. Hey, you need to make sure you're getting your. Because there might be two guys in the same truck. Well, I thought you did it. I thought you did it. And in general, it's not, you know who's going to be with what. I mean, if you've got somebody who's doing fiber and they have no truck, well, how'd you get there? I mean, you're going to be able to see that when we do.
But our time is all coded. So like even my time, when I'm spending on fiber, I'm coding.
Yeah, yeah, my time and Brett's time and anybody's time that's being put to fiber is being coded to fiber. So I mean, it's truly being completely segregated.
And that's just so we can run the businesses appropriately, right?
So eventually, beginning January or February, whatever the case is, we'll see the P and L for power.
That's, yeah.
For electricity.
It might be before that, but I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean,
And
we're playing with it now.
It's early, yeah, I understand that. That's fine, okay.
Any other fiber questions?
I mean, it'll look ugly right away because you got the appreciation and don't have all the.
$1,500.
Well, but once we start appreciating it, it's just like any startup. It's
Oh, yeah.
not gonna look perfect on the first 6 months. I mean, that's, and anybody who thinks it should is kidding themselves.
All right, we'll move to meter replacement. All right, meter exchanges are on their way. We have about, as of today, I think it's like 850 meters done in 2 weeks. So they're cooking. The DCUs, so those are the things with the little the antennas essentially. Michigan, we're having a few issues on the back end of those. And so Claire is going to be here this week. They'll be here actually next week. And so we're working through some of those issues with the Claire one and how it's reporting back. The nice thing is these do, they only need one DCU to bounce off of, but they have at least 3 in site typically. That's how that works. And so with the troubleshooting, once we get all the DCUs up and running, we'll be able to troubleshoot. And we do believe we are still on track for that project. So I think the main update is they are moving at a very fast pace. We did not expect them to have that many done. So that's good. Any questions on meter? All right, meter pole replacement. So we have about 125 plus backlog of meter poles. We have 66 left. So when we put Ark and Johnny on these, they've been knocking them out. So of those 63, 23 are in process. So will we get them completed by the end of the year? No. We said we probably wouldn't be able to do that, but we are making a lot of headway. Those are the 3 projects I was going to give updates on. Any other questions?
So based upon the polls, how many will not be completed by the end of the year then? What was that number?
It's so very.
I get it, but based on what you said, I thought it was around 40. Am I too?
Probably 40.
Okay.
There's 23 out of the 66 in the
Okay.
process. So I would expect those 23 to get done pretty easily. We'll probably be left between 20 and 30. It would be my guess. Any other questions? Anything else? You may hit on.
Yeah, go from there.
All right, I'm gonna go through the metrics for August. So median temperature, it was up about 1.1, so essentially flat over our 5-year average. CCD was up, even though it looks quite dramatic on the chart, it's not that much. And then if you look at our purchase energy, we were actually down about 3% from our 5-year average, and demand was down about 1.8. So this is the time of the year where
A lot
a
of
lot of
very,
people are not running your air conditioners, right? Running your windows and things like that. So that shows up. As far as retail sales, you can kind of see it drop off quite a bit from last month, obviously, due to the weather. So residential is pretty much at budget, commercial is slightly under 3%, industrial is under 3%, and then transmission was essentially pretty much flat. So that all turned out to about a loss of 0.7% to budget, but we're still at 3% over budget. So I think we're in a good spot compared to past years, being where we're at in August. This is daily Sadie. So again, just shows our loss, basically lost consumer hours over time. Been a pretty quiet month, other than those 3 blips we had over the year. Then if you look at number of outages, we were slightly below, and then lost consumer hours, we were slightly above. And then if you look at the reasons why, it's the blue line in there, which is trees not right away. It's interesting because we've seen our liability numbers kind of go down a little bit this year. And across the industry, everyone is seeing that, especially even on the transmission side of things. And so Johnny and I went back and we took 5 years worth of data, compiled that and looked at what was the biggest contributors. And we did it same period of time for this year. And what stands out is the trees not in the right of way is huge. I mean, it's really shot up. So that's all these ash trees that are dying way away from our right of way and falling over lines. And typically when that happens and it's a 3-phase line, you've got a lot of members off for a little while. The other one is I don't know what's with animals, but the animals are moving differently and creating more issues than the past 5 years. So those are the 2 big things that kind of came out of our little study that we did. Any questions as far as any of the metrics for August? If not, I'm going to pass it over to
Yeah.
Matt.
Matt, you're up.
All right, on the balance sheet, the key things is plant, as Brett said, there's been a lot of progress made on the projects that are ongoing, the meter poles and the RF meters and just stuff in general. The current assets, that's reduction mainly in cash from paying for the plant and other deferred debits. So the other deferred debits is going to be your the construction work plan and the RF meter project and fiber, which is where that's showing up currently on the balance sheet. So that's really the main point I would say on the balance sheet. Any questions on any of those or more detail? Next we have our operations. In general, we're still running revenue and power costs are above, and our gross margin is above still. Controllable expenses are getting closer to even. We are way ahead on right of way, but as I said earlier, we have our labor and stuff is under. So in general, nothing really out of the ordinary, I would say, this month. I mean, we're pretty close to budget in general, and nothing really screamed at me. Any questions from? See here, we had our cash. I guess a cash increase there. I said that wrong. We didn't just be borrowed a bunch more. Yeah. Cash 939. Any questions on the cash flow?
can you go back to? Sorry, I'm not able to find it as quick as you. Yeah, here, got it. One back. This one, margin. Do you have any kind of crystal ball for the last quarter year? Which do you think that number will continue to grow in that base budget, or do you think that's going to level out?
As far as the operating or
Yeah.
in total. So some of the operating is going to come back because we have we have received income from a revenue standpoint on the communications companies hanging on our poles, so there will be expenses that offset some of that. So I think that there will be a reduction in the gross margin as those bills come in on some of that, because they pay an application fee up front, and we haven't billed them for everything yet, so there's costs that will go against that, and some income too, but mainly a lot more costs. In general, I think it'll probably, I mean, it kind of depends on who's using the power too. I mean, if our transmission customer continues to run well, it'll continue to run well.
So if we continue that pace and you end up farther ahead than where you thought you would be, is there a plan? Like, is there anything that we could do to lower that? Do we need to?
We did talk about some things
I mean,
that
at the end of the day, there's always the option of a capital credits. I mean,
that's one option. There is an option to go ahead and move forward with something we're going to put in the budget next year, which is to move the fence out around the new pool yard. And
That would be capital.
do we have to?
That's on how much it is.
We started thinking through that. It's a good question.
So
But
the tree trimming is kind of done for the year, right?
There's still some stuff to do. They're making, I mean, they're moving right along with that though.
Yeah. So, but is there an opportunity there maybe, or?
I mean, if we're wanting to pull stuff forward, that's something we can always look at it. I mean, in general, the number one thing that always shifts the final number is going to be what Hoosier did for the year. I mean, that'll have a bigger impact on where we come in budget to actual than probably was that.
we'll bring you some ideas next month.
But I mean, do I expect it to be over, based off where we're at?
By
now?
40%?
Uh,
By 40%? You're in? I guess that's the real question. And
Well-
could we do something to lower that for your end?
So there will be some things that will lower it, yes. On a consolidated basis, yeah.
That are going to occur or that you have in mind? I mean,
They will occur for sure.
okay. Are there things that did, and I think that's what I heard you say, Brett, is there's additional things you can bring next month and say, here are some other things in addition to those that are about.
We'll give you some ideas if you want to cut down, because I think we had 2.6 was the budget for our margin, and we're going to be over that.
I mean, one of the, like I said earlier, one of the biggest things that's pulling margins. Well, not the biggest, but one big thing that's impacting it is the fact that we are capitalizing a lot of labor that we weren't planned. I mean, it wasn't budgeted for. You have to.
We already pretty much, and you'll see in the KRTAs, we're already not capitalizing near as much labor as everyone else.
Well, there's.
Not saying that's right or
In
wrong.
general, I mean, okay, so.
Yeah, I'm just telling.
Well, to me, along those lines, though, consistency is the key.
Yes.
You don't want to deviate because of a certain circumstance and then go back the other way.
But I think I heard you say that you were capitalizing all labor associated with fiber, is that correct?
It will start to be expensed though, going forward, because it's now a functioning. So as will
Operational.
there will be, it will become operational on a consolidated basis. However, they'll be tracked separate from the electrical side though too. So your consolidated will be everything, whereas your segregated divisions will trip differently. So yes, there will, on a consolidated basis, there'll be, that is gonna be coming. I mean, the RF meters, once they are installed, they'll start to be depreciated. That'll be a big chunk of depreciation that's currently being capitalized. The fiber will start to be depreciated, where
Let depreciation happen in 25.
RF meters will probably be, I don't know, depends if I keep going at the rate they will, we'll see some of it probably November,
So it'll
December.
be a small
It
program.
won't be a huge amount, no.
Yeah.
But it'll be something. And same thing with fiber, there'll be some that hits in, the real stuff's gonna start coming 26 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or anybody have anything else for Matt?
But I mean, we can look and see what's out there from a, I'll try to get you a better idea since we're getting closer to this. Next month, since it will be September, I'll give you full blown with everything in there. Because it's 3/4, since it'll be a quarter ending and it'll be.
Well, now's
Now,
the time to look at those things that we potentially can do.
Yes.
over the next 4 months.
But plus it's also when we do our budget, we do it off of our third quarter. So this next month is when we will put, I'll come with more stuff.
Sounds good. Anything else for Matt? We'll talk through now.
Yeah, so we discussed this last month. We're really recommending proceeding. I think, in my opinion, this is one of those, could be a big win for us. But I think we're at the point where we need to risk buy our ADSS fiber. And the way that works is you got to get in the queue before they'll even put it into the production schedule. And so for BEAD phase 2, lead times are expected to be at least 18. It could go up to 30. If we delay the order until January, it could really push construction start until like mid-year instead of beginning of year. So we also believe that, so the state is getting, I mean, they've already awarded this, right? They're pending NITA approval, but everybody's going to be looking for fiber at the same time. And so there's no doubt the costs are going to go higher as demand and pressures come. So I put down there kind of the rest of this, but I think essentially we're asking, can we go ahead and risk buy 1.9? Now, Sam did talk about we'll probably do half at the very beginning, just to get into the queue. And then depending on, we may wait. There may be a plan to not do it all at once. I thought I'd like to get approval from you guys as one big batch and then let Sam manage
But we
that.
don't have to pay for it to get it.
Yeah,
So that's
So
next
It's a
year.
risk order, not so much a risk buy.
that is exactly right.
And it's a lower the risk order, not a, I don't like term risk buy.
Yeah, there's not
Reduce the risk buy.
there's not a check going out the door. We don't pay for it till you get it, but you do have to sign a contract. So no one knows. They're kind of going through that recycling right now. My guess is it'll probably be 2 to 3 weeks out. But I can tell you the state ended up spending about half of the 860 million and are saying they hit every address in Indiana. With those numbers, they're going to approve it. Why wouldn't they?
So what happens to the other half of the money?
They don't know yet. They're going to give all 50 states guidance probably Q1 of next year. My guess is they'll require it to come back.
You mentioned a risk here of restocking fee potentially. Is it possible that there might be a neighboring
Yeah.
RMC that would
Yeah.
purchase instead of?
This is truly, most likely, this restocking fee is going to be like 10 to 15%. I just wanted to show is this is the worst. This is, in my opinion, if you can't find anybody to buy it and they don't need it and the restocking fee doubles, that's what you're going to see. This is truly like a worst case scenario. In my opinion, you're going to save way, way more money than this. The risk reward here is exponential.
So would your recommendation be to go a portion of that dollar amount that's presented there, like half of that? Is that what?
I would rather
what
you
you're saying?
approve the whole
The whole
thing
thing.
and we let Sam manage it. If he determines through talks that we are better leveraged by doing the whole 1.9, then he'll do that. If he thinks from talking with them
That he needs-
that,
Okay.
then we'll let him deal with that. He'll be having the conversation, so he'll know. My only thing that I caution him on is you do half and then you get into a bind where you can't get the other half. That's worse now because now you're like, okay, I can start the build, then I got to send everybody home. Like that could backfire big time. So I doubt we'll end up doing it. I'm just saying if there would be some reason that would make sense with that.
So if all these dominoes got this secured, phase one is finished, I think it's supposed to be when you secure this water, secure these materials, when does phase two start?
Phase two would start probably February timeframe. And probably be done.
Materials and you get to approve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mid 27. I mean, it can go that quick.
The completion.
Completion.
Is what you're saying.
No, phase two.
It would-
27 or 26?
27. Phase two would probably be close to mid 27. Now we may be able to speed that up, but remember, phase one wasn't supposed to be done until September of next year.
The build time for phase two is 14, 15 months, 16 months, somewhere around.
Possibly. Remember, the build for phase one was September. We had to be done by September. The only reason we're getting it done quicker is because DNH just doesn't want to be here over. They want to get out of here as quickly as possible for the winter.
Oh, wouldn't that be the same?
Could be. I'm just saying we don't know that. Right now, I'd only commit to phase two being done by we have 4 years.
Do we know how much we need to order? Because you said we needed to redesign phase two now that we know what we.
He's got a rough idea. That's how he came up with the 1.9.
But you're the first one there.
My gut tells me, Jason, we'll do it just as quick as we did phase one, but we don't know that yet. I don't know.
What was the one that had a competitor internet was here the other night? I was paying 120,
125,
a month and paid to install
450 for the equipment.
What's ours?
65.
no installation.
No installation and quicker and no latency. That guy was having problems with latency. He streams and
Is that what?
it
When it buffers.
Yeah.
it buffers, yeah.
So better product, essentially cheap.
We had two.
It's almost.
And we're doing the deal right now. Everybody, pretty much everybody's taking, we're doing the 2 gig by 2 gig for 55 half price. And so everyone's taking that. And the thought is once, if, you know,
Just confirm for me that the speed, the package they choose does not increase our cost one way or the other.
there is minimal costs from a standpoint of the electronics, which I'm not going to be able to technically, I don't understand it all. But SCI would tell you that that's not true. There is some cost increase, but it's minimal and they're eating it. When we went from the packages to go higher, they did not charge FiberStream any of that increase because they're doing it for all their other members or customers. And that is substantially, in a marketing standpoint, I think that was smart for areas that may have things like satellite, some watch members and things like that. We did learn today that almost 75% of the BEAD money went to fiber, which was interesting because I thought it would be a lot tilted the other way.
So exactly what's the 1.9 purchase, and like what is just the prepaid, the purchase?
So we won't spend the money until we actually receive it, but you're signing a contract saying I need X amount. It's the fiber
What's
itself.
the odds that we won't need it?
1%.
So 99% chance we're gonna need it.
Once they cancel BEAD.
Chances of that happening.
100% of what we need to.
Do what?
That would be 100% of the fiber that we need.
Yes, except for it doesn't include secondary drops and I think there's some lateral stuff, but it's our main line.
Phase 2.
Well, it's large percentage. It may not be 100.
Close to
Odds are the price is gonna go down.
It's gonna go down.
99% chance we're gonna need it.
So
How about we go 95?
Okay, 95, but in a
Okay,
perfect
95% chance we're gonna need.
It's a no-brainer. I
But
mean,
in a
honestly.
perfect world, that's the last purchase of that ADSS we have to make.
Yes.
So
In a perfect world.
That's a good one.
Now we're back on every year.
In a perfect world, none of us would be here with the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so
We can't section 179 that off.
It doesn't mean it's good. I mean, that's.
Well, we were paying taxes,
It'd be.
I'll make the motion to order all of it. Please, yeah.
Okay, we have a first. Dale, seconds. Any additional discussion? We good? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. It's unanimous. We're good.
Moving right along.
All right, we're ready for the KRTA review.
Okay, so there's about 160 or 70 KRTAs. If you guys remember about 5 years ago, we kind of surveyed and figured out like which ones we wanted to do. Well, of that, there's like 80 some. Those are on your dashboard. If you did not get a chance to go through them, I would highly suggest go through them sometime. We are not going to go through all those tonight. What we're going to do is go through about 25 of them. These are either things that we think are important, or things that tell us something or something, is different, right? Or there's a trend or something that we thought was appropriate to go through. So I'll start out. So the first one's kind of around affordability. And I thought this was very, very interesting. And we did get our 25 data, so I put it in here. And so if you look, this is at 1,000 kWh. So we sit about 1,100 as our average. So they measure this at 1,000 and 2,000. But at 1,000, our bill rate is right at the median. And so you can see that we've actually bumped down to the median. So our strategy of holding our rates stable is working. We are at the median and still being able to build, give capital credits, keep our plant up to date. And so I think this is, I was really proud of this when I saw this. I think we've accomplished some things here. Go ahead.
all the KRTAs are through 24.
Everything's through 24 except for these two slides because we ended up getting the 25 data and I was so excited I wanted to show you.
Is this the co-op median, national or state?
This is state. It's all 37 co-ops. So as you can see, traditionally, we're usually up at the third quartile, a little bit above. We have dipped down. So next one is 2000, pretty much the same thing. So obviously we're at 1100. So I always show 1000, 2000. This next slide is a little is interesting also. So they also report for every co-op in the state of Indiana what their energy charge is, what their fixed fee, and what their tracker is. And as you can see, our energy, we're right there at the median. Our fixed fee, we're 50 cents off, and our tracker, we're under. And so everyone else ended up raising their tracker a little more than us. That's what really drove it down, or they did a rate increase, one of the two within the last couple of years. So as we go into the conversation about rates and things, I think what this shows you is we're pretty much in line with where all co-ops are at when it comes to those three things. And this is just residential's at 1,000 kWh a month. Stop me if you guys have questions, please. The next one is the closest neighboring IOU. I thought this was kind of interesting. It's a slide we don't show every year, but it shows ours compared to the IOU median. So this is the IOUs in the state, and then the IOU that's next to us, and the percentage is different. So you can see their rate increases have made a big impact into the difference. I would argue that difference should be at least 50%, if not 60% difference with us higher. And we're within 1.7%. So I think we're in a really, really good spot. Now I'm going to jump to reliability. Again, stop me if you have any questions. So this is not against a KRT or a benchmark, but this is a metric that we take a look at, and it's one that it makes the most sense. So it looks at lost consumer hours, and it averages the last 5 years. So 2020 would be the average of the prior 5 years, and it's kind of that rolling deal. And that way it smooths out weather a little bit. And so as you can see from the last 5 years, we are trending down. We did have a little bit up in 24. There was 1 or 2 storms that we did not get in 2023. Anyway, I think it's heading in the right direction. Number of outages is going the other way. And so what I contribute this to is we've had some issues with our mapping. We've been having them honestly ever since probably the last 8 years. And so NISC has helped us with getting that, and our new meter program will help. If what I think is true, which is when we get an outage that comes in, instead of it being 1 outage, it'll show 4 outages because it hadn't linked those 4 together because of some type of continuity issue with our maps. And so I believe that's the difference. And we're about to find out because we almost have all of our errors in our conductivity model figured out. And by the end of the year, we'll have all of our meters in place, and that will also help identify outages in our maps easier. Lost consumer hours by cause. As you can see, trees has come down over time, but is still one of the largest contributors. Trees in right away, as you can see, 24 really sticks out. 25 is going to be even worse. But vehicles, machinery still is, I would consider, second. And so really nothing surprising here. Sales to members. So this is KRTA 1. This just shows the average total consumers served. And so we are the green. As you can see, we've had some steady growth, not nothing major, but have had some growth. And it's really in line with the gray, which is the US median, and the blue is the state median. So I would argue we're growing slowly, very similar to the US and the state. Those are just number of members. Average residential usage kWh per month. This is the one that we always talk about where we are different, right? We are quite a bit higher than the state, quite a bit higher than US. We contribute that possibly to having those 2 unique groups of users in 1 single phase rate. And so we have a plan to deal with that already, but that's one of the drivers that I believe it is. Or it could be we have a higher saturation of geo. There could be a lot of different things that contribute to this. So we're going to go to Matt for some financials. So the first one.
Okay, the first one's KRP 24, annual capital credits retired as a percent of total equity. As you can see, we historically retired pretty much more than everybody. It's one of the things that we have always done is we are very consistent on retiring capital credits.
But we also noted here in 2023 and 2024, if you guys remember, in 21 and 22, I believe is when we did those special retirements. So if you look at 23 and 24, I think we're kind of more in line. So Jason, the conversation that we had, I think we're kind of in line, really. I mean, we're not far. Yeah. Blended.
The next blended interest rate. We didn't borrow as much money as most everybody else did when rates were super low. So we're going to probably have a higher blended interest rate for the foreseeable future. Next, O tier. This is our margin, and since we pay higher capital credits and several of the other things that we do here, it's a hair. We're in line though, like I said, with residential and we. Yeah. What else did we talk about with that yesterday?
I mean, to me, it's driven from our ability to want to get to stable rates, capital credits we pay out. We don't capitalize as much labor, and we don't borrow near as much.
Is the O tier the one that includes?
No, it
GMT
discludes.
or
Yep. Regular tier looks a little different. We're not as
does not include the GMT retirements?
O tier does not.
Oh, this one.
Correct. We pay more attention to this one because of the fact that, in my opinion, the other one is so skewed by the use your capital credit that it's not really a good data point. But this does tell you we're running higher margins, but for the reasons we just talked about.
It's also O tier, it's times interest earned. So I mean, with lower debt, it's higher as well.
True.
I mean, you gotta take everything interplays with each other.
Go back one with that. The note here, that's basically your margins divided by your interest cost.
Yeah, if you don't borrow as much money, you don't have to cover as much interest.
Interest is low, so therefore it's a higher rate.
That's probably got just as much
So
to
you
do with it.
got, I mean, there's your numerator and denominator
Yeah,
by what you just said are both affected.
Yep.
distribution equity. This goes back to that last one as well. I mean, our system distribution equity, this excludes our equity in our G&T. So we're about 50-50 there, which is higher than the US and the state. So you can kind of see where people borrowed significantly more the last few years than what we did for their equity to go down. Another one, long-term debt as a percent of total assets. This goes back to it too. I mean, we don't have as much debt as everybody else. Hence, we can cover our interest more. Plus, we don't borrow as much money. I mean, that's the only. That's the biggest thing.
Institution.
From
lending institutions.
Absolutely. We get money from two places.
Next, you can see power costs as percent of revenue. This is the portion of every dollar that we pay out, or every dollar we collect, what goes more or less right back to our power supplier. So
This means we do more with less, is what this means. Oh,
yeah, and the next one is the one where it says that we do more with less.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend less on our controllable expenses per kWh than our peers or country for that matter.
and all these are excluding our IPT. Yeah, because if
Yeah,
not,
because if it wasn't in there,
it really skews it.
And this we alluded to earlier, are capitalized payroll. In general, we do not capitalize as much as everybody else does.
But didn't you say earlier this year we are this year?
This year, we are capitalizing more
So
than,
that's-
but it's not gonna show up on the electrical side, because the bulk of that capitalization is gonna be on the fiber side. So,
We traditionally, if you look back over the last 10 years, have always been, I think it's just a conservative approach, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
So, Power Stream numbers are not gonna get fixed, you know, the one negative balance sheet that we talked about is not the one that's gonna be used for the KRTA data, correct, moving forward?
I don't believe so, yeah, I think the KRTA.
Because that's really gonna,
Just
I mean,
mean-
it's just stuff stored everything.
Yeah.
Data is not.
Well, they're actually talking about creating
They're
KRTAs.
talking about
For-
creating a KRTA for fiber.
For fiber? I bet they do.
Well, what it's starting to do is it's shoving off, I mean, it's like, there are lots of co-ops, I mean, a lot of them are in different things, some of them have gas, some of them are, I mean, you take Nine Star, they got water, they got everything. It shows up on that bottom portion. So it's not the electrical,
Non-op, yeah.
on the schedule, on
We're almost there, Matt.
all right, electric revenue per KWH sold. So you can see in 24, we're right in line with everybody else in the state. I mean, for every mill we sell, we're collecting just a tick less than everybody else. So I mean, we're not out of line with everybody else by any stretch of the imagination. And then lastly is total utility plant. What I thought was interesting was the US median happens, or the state median happens to be us here at the end. We are right smack in the middle. So.
And that's it.
So there was one on there that was, full rejection numbers as a percentage. So, you know, we've been running like around a 10% rejection rate in the last 2 years. It's gone down almost half.
That's because we've
We went
reduced
to
the
5-year
cycle.
rotation instead of 9. And the early years, you had older ones, now they're newer, and they didn't go bad in 5 years.
That was our plan.
Yeah, it's doing exactly like we went down.
That's really a path, that's really should be a path on your back from a board standpoint, because you guys supported the dollars it took to get from a 10-year to, I believe we're in a 5-year.
Yeah, we're on a 5-year plan now, where we.
And that was a good call. That, yeah. I mean, the last time we've had a pole fall because it was red tagged in a storm, I can't even remember the last time. It's been a while. Now, the tornado comes through.
Stop.
All right.
Everybody good? Well, thanks for sharing the KOTA information with us.
But if you didn't get a chance to look at the full
Yeah,
set, I
there's a lot out
definitely
there.
would.
There's definitely.
I
a
just
lot
did
out there.
not want to sit up here and go through them
Yeah.
all. You guys all fall asleep.
But if anybody has any questions on them, you know who to call.
Yep.
All right, next item has to do with, as we venture into the last 3 months of the year, there's often times where we need to adjust our board meeting dates based upon holidays and things of that nature. So we've kind of put together already those dates that we want to hone in on. I've hoped everybody's looked at the calendar. Does it not meet any, everybody's requirements?
I cannot be here the 16th. That's the Tuesday.
Because I asked you to come ready to talk about other dates
Which, I
possibly.
mean,
If you can't be here that Tuesday, how about, I mean, I don't know what works.
I think we're good, honestly, that entire week. So.
Is there
what
another
about the
date during that week?
17th?
Tuesday, it's Tuesday that week, I cannot be here.
Wednesday's
Monday or
fine.
Tuesday.
So if we change that to the 17th, same time, is everybody good with that? Let's modify that. Was anybody else impacted by any of those dates?
Does anybody want to do cricket scene instead?
You're,
Do you?
22nd is really close to Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that far away from it.
We'll make that.
All right,
really
so we'll,
quick.
we'll change,
We'll make it quick.
the budget presentation to, 12:17.
Promise.
Beginning at 9.
To
And
deliver the final budget to the board, like, is that just an email type thing, or what is for the 19th?
That'll be the board meeting where you guys will vote yes or no based on.
That'll be
We got the
after
following
meeting.
Monday though?
Let's say the 19th would be.
Or any changes you tell us to make. I think that's how that was it.
Well,
yeah, let's verify.
What's that? I'm
Just-
The
sorry.
19th, is that just an email?
I think that's just communication to support the
That's not-
22nd. Yeah.
So that's not an actual meeting date, that's just a,
Right.
Oh,
that's a landmark for Brett.
Yeah, so we don't have to be present for that, but if there's anything in the interim that would need to be,
Oh, so that'll be, so typically what we do, yeah, it's a milestone for me. So typically if you guys make any changes, you've been wanting to see those updated. And so I'll know what I'll do is I'll throw it back out on call to order as a final, like we've been doing the last couple of years. That's a milestone for me.
okay.
Sorry.
normally it meeting, you guys tell us when something changes.
So really we'll move our November board day to that Tuesday. Have the budget presentation on the 17th of December, and then our regular board meeting will be moved to the 22nd. So of December, if everybody's good with that. Okay.
Yep.
You think we need a motion? Didn't you?
Yeah, you need a motion
Yeah,
to
let's
make the changes
have a motion to
recommended.
approve the changes recommended.
So
What, Ryan is the first, Dale, you seconded? We have a first and second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same, so it's. And. All right, moving right along, everybody good? We'll continue some discussion that we had from last month regarding rates. I know, Brett, you updated a couple things, is that
Yep.
correct?
So I
If you
got
want to share
Yep.
those items and,
So a couple things first. So we did meet with Eric Blake and we put together some dates here. So to create that single phase general service, small and large tariffs, we're looking at like a 930 to have that completed. Update the time of use rate with the super off peak 1017, review the minimum bills 1017, commercial class rate audit 1219. Single phase, we're calling it a dummy rate, 1219, and then the new tracker by 1219. And then tonight I'm going to be asking for the IPTs to be approved and then get rid of the flat rates and the LCPT. So those are sort of updates as far as timing. So then what I also did, and I'd like to go over just because it's kind of a brief overview of kind of where we're at on the cost of service study and all that. So I put out there a proposed plan. So as we talked about last month with our recommendations, I put together a little bit more of a deep dive plan here. So I'd like to go over that. So, and it's under proposed plan. So our proposal last month and again this month is to maintain current rates as they are giving the margins are currently healthy and close to our plan. Before making any adjustments, we need to do a deeper dive understanding of our commercial class structures, right? That's where the changes need to be made. We recommend completing an interclass study for the commercial classes to ensure that each class is composed of members with load characteristics that closely align with the class average. That's the goal, right? This analysis will position us to make more informed and equitable adjustments in the future, particularly when margins get tight. You're always going to hear from a rate consultant that if your goal is to have sustainable rates, you really don't want to lower. You want to wait until the factor when you need the revenue up, and then you go to the classes that need those. And that's what this is based on, is sort of that idea. And so, like I said before, by the end of 25, we'll have the inter-study done. January, we'll report any recommended changes. And so our recommendation is that we don't do a revenue change here. This would just be, hey, we need another class, or hey, we need to combine classes, or hey, we don't need to do anything. Our recommendation is you wouldn't affect the return on rate base at this time. February 26th, is when we look for approval. And then in April, if we did any changes to the commercial classes, and then April 26, we've got all those going into effect. So then in June of 26, we'll move. We can't do it until June 26 because of the timing we have to give Hoosier. We'll move those 3 large commercial counts into industrial, and then I say start, but we may have already started by this time, but start moving the single phase into, the small and the large. They'll have the exact same tariff, so it's not going to affect them cost wise, but we'll start getting them put into the right bucket. So if we want to do something in the future with that. And then, so here's the big keys is we have New Era coming, which is a grant from the federal government based upon some carbon neutral assets that we're putting in place at Hoosier. We don't know, you don't get that credit until those assets become live. And so there's some questions about exactly when. Right now, Palisades is actually running in front of schedule. So it could be the beginning of the year, could be mid-year is when they planned it in the business case. So I'm saying in here, possibly June, could be before then. But in my opinion, if we get a New Era grant, which we are pretty sure we're going to get, that in my opinion, you guys could pull in number 7 earlier and affect the return on rate base for the commercial members without having to do a rate increase. And then in January of 28, we would start our new cost of service study because that would kick off when Hoosier's doing it. And then if we don't get the New Era earlier, or if you guys want to wait, we would end up doing that in 28. In 28, the New Era will be in base rates. The dollars that we get for that will be in base rates. And then we would approve and make those changes in April 29. So that's my recommendation. One other thing I'd like to say is we didn't get to where we're at today by doing rate increases, because I know the first question always is 3.2 margin, when we say 3, really is home for the things that we want to do and the financial plan that we have in place. I would argue that we didn't get to 3.2 by doing a rate increase. And therefore, if you want steady rates, or sustainable rates, which is what I think our members really care about. Inflation is always going to be hitting. As I heard Ed Soliday today say, these I think he called them Oompa Loompa people that think that rates should go down in an electric utility. That's not possible. It's just not possible. You have labor that's going to expect raises. You have inflation on material. If you're going to keep your plan up, it's impossible. But I think steady Eddie is the name of the game. And we got to where we got with the margin. It's going to erode over time, right? We know that's going to happen. So we're going to have an opportunity to up our commercial classes to the rate of return they should be at. But I think we can do it possibly with some of this New Era that we got coming too, which would ease the pressures on our commercial classes, in my opinion. And again, this is just my recommendation, or my team's recommendation.
The New Era reimbursed with a rider, so it's baked in base rate.
Yep.
28, then you're thinking
29, April 29 is when it'll be in base rates, is when it'll take effect. So my point is you could either do it as part of the rider, which is what I would do, right? And so instead of passing the rider along for commercial, you wouldn't. And that'll automatically get your rate of return up. And then I did compare and talk to Eric about this plan. I've also talked to some rate consultants that do this, that are peers of mine that have done this, and we are not really out of line. And again, this goes back to the fact that we didn't use a rate increase to create the margin we're at, and we know that inflation is going to hit us. Steady Eddie is the name of the game. So that's my recommendation in the plan that I had.
Was it 2019 was the last rate increase?
2018.
2018, thank you.
And that was a $200,000 rate increase. In fact, looking back at it, we probably shouldn't have even done it. $200,000 is nothing.
Right.
it really was just kind of
It was a rate realignment more than it was. It was a $200,000 increase.
It's nice to just reiterate that.
And if you look at, so I looked at the numbers today, and it is interesting that this is just some data I pulled today. So over the United States in the last 5 years, the average cost of consumer has gone up about 25%. So I wanted to know, where were we at on that? We're like 13%. That whole entire 13%, I go back through all of you is the tracker. It's not from local. So we've been able to eat the inflation here locally and not increase our power cost. So it's through the tracker, which means it's coming from Hoosier, these rate increases. Well, when you look at all that, it's mainly the fact that gas has not come down to the historical lows it was at prior to COVID, and our aging infrastructure and transmission. Those are the biggest keys, and that is the same story across the entire industry. So the other thing I looked at is like, if you look at our wholesale rates at residential for the last 5 years, like I said, gone up 13%. And our wholesale has gone up almost within 0.5% in line. So when folks say that our power costs are coming down on wholesale, so I'm talking residential and commercial, and ours is going up, that's not true. I looked at the data today. It's just not true. So we're in a good spot. I'd like to take credit for it, but I think some chips fell that may have been out of our control. Although we should take credit for it. Yeah, that's true.
So everybody good with the recommendation? In other words, do nothing at this point, other than follow with the rescinding tariffs that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But
now, the one thing you will have to approve is because it's going to be a change of how we calculate the tracker. So when we get that done, he's building it now.
Right, that's going to happen, but not tonight.
Not
I mean, that's going to be done subsequent to.
So we're approving what?
I don't know that we need to prove anything.
You're not
for
approving
this.
anything.
I'm just asking, generally speaking, is everybody good with the recommendation that's just been given?
This class commercial study. That's just something we're gonna do. What is that gonna cost?
We're doing it. It's going to be less than $1,000. Or it'll be right about
But
$1,000.
that's gonna help position us for what we.
I think you need to have that. Yeah.
And depending on what it tells us, may need to do something.
Yeah, we may have another class.
Yep. Or you may be combined. I mean, the last time we did this wasn't that long ago, so I have a hard time believing it's going to majorly change.
There'll be a few.
But I would say that we know there's 3 that automatically moved, right? So the classes, the way you guys set the rates up back in 2018 should move people, because Crystal's looking at this every single year and we're moving people appropriately. It should move people closer to their average, right?
Sure.
And put them in the right. Yeah, we added a medium commercial.
The other change that we added was only 2.
We went to 3.
Which ended up giving some people a rate increase and some a rate decrease. Because it's an average.
So as it's free, just to be clear, to regurgitate what you just said, what we're talking about is we're gonna do this interclass study. Do those things. We're not gonna do anything right now.
That's my
That's the
recommendation.
recommendation. That's, I mean, the board, yeah.
The disparity we have in the commercial class is what we're suggesting is that the new era money might resolve that.
It will resolve it a bit. It will move it in the right direction. I don't know that it's going to
Minimize it and at the very least mitigate some of it.
I haven't asked the questions to Eric on that yet. As far as like, I mean, I think you can, yeah. It's no different than what we would do with it's no different than what we've done since. Yeah. And we can make those decisions when we get there. It may not even be that impactful. I don't know. But I think it's another opportunity. It's no different than the two opportunities that we've had in 23 and 26, which we planned. We planned all this, and I think, at least in my mind, I thought it was a moonshot, and it worked. And we're now, for a result, congratulations, we're going to have stable rates for a while. But I do know that we had a meeting today, and there's some wholesale pressure back on the tracker already. You'll get that today.
For when?
Yeah, you may be a meeting in front of me. Some of it was the outage on the gas plant, but some of it is more of MISO costs going high because they're getting into the tranche 1 projects.
So that could,
But we're offsetting some of that by participating in some transmission ownership.
Yes.
It's like a strategic plan like Hoosiers to
yes.
own some more transmission to help offset.
And again, this really comes down to the question of, do you want our rates to last, or do you want to keep doing, rate increase, incremental changes all over the place? I have a hard time saying, here's a penny back, but 2 years later, I need $1.
So I'm gathering from the rest of the board that not increasing anything at this time is acceptable based upon the recommendation. Yes. Again, I don't think. What do you think, Carl?
You need action.
I'm just curious, on our last negotiation with landowners, what was the rate that they fixed?
I don't want to say that in open meeting.
It had to be over 2.3 or 3 or something like that, I don't know. Am I correct? Oh, and then the last budget that we had last year was, the office staff had a 3.5% raise, am I correct?
I don't know that I want to disclose that.
Okay, well, I think that is sort of our close, anyway, okay. So we're asking our members to pay more for electricity after we've gotten pay raises for everybody else.
No, we're actually keeping them steady since 2018. We're not increasing rates.
Oh, you leaving it at 2018 rate? Is that what?
We have not touched rates since
Since then.
2018.
Yeah.
Inflation has been over 4 or 5% every single year, almost 30%.
I get real bad feedback about a lot of things.
Well, you got to use the right numbers.
How much cost, how much their bills are and stuff like
That's why I like to reiterate in a meeting that
that.
2019 has been the same.
Mhm. Right.
The entire industry is up over.
Most of the budget.
Yeah.
We'll take out like rate the same.
So I'm not sure, Carl, what are you saying at this point?
Well, what I'm saying is that people out there know, I'm not saying they don't, I'm pretty sure they know the last, increase for the land was they got an increase in pay raise, and then they know that the office this last budget got a pay raise.
That there will be inflation on labor every single year to the tune of
And you know that, and you understand that, but there's people, wait, why, okay, so I wanna pay for the pay. Well, but I guess I'm confused, Carl, because.
We're not increasing.
Oh, I thought you were increasing rates. You're
No.
not increasing rates.
No,
Oh,
that's
that's
what I
right,
said,
somebody increasing rates.
in spite of the lineman's increase and the office increase,
Yes.
we have not, nor are we increasing rates.
So what are we talking about?
We're saying the status quo. We're leaving things as are.
Oh, yeah, leave rates as.
Yes, and you're good with that then?
Yeah.
Okay, you maybe misunderstood what I said, but yeah, no. So I just,
Thank you for bringing that up.
because I don't, like I said, I don't think we need to make a motion.
No, you're not changing it.
Retain it.
These other tariffs that are listed.
We do, but that's subsequent to this. So I just want to make sure you guys are good with that. Now let's go to the next item of rescinding, I think, the number of flat rates. Is that correct?
So there's small, medium, and large, and we put these together back in 2018 as an idea to try to flatten commercials bills. We've never had anybody on them, and they're not updated. So my recommendation
Is
is
to go ahead and let's remove them because they're not being utilized right now. And have they ever, then you're saying they never really have?
No one's ever been on these.
Okay. So we need a motion to, we'll do this one separate, rescind the tariffs for these flat rates that are listed there in that tab.
I'll make a motion.
Can we have a first? Give it a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. That's unanimous. And then the next one is the IPT tariff that's mentioned here.
Yeah, so Hoosier has a so this is our retail rate, and obviously we have a wholesale rate from Hoosier. Because of some of these big loads, they have changed that to cap theirs at 50, it's basically 50 megawatts. And so we need to do the same with ours so that any load over 50 megawatts would be a special, it'd be a special contract, a case by case special contract. That is the only change I'm making or requesting.
Okay, we have a first
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. The two is unanimous. All right, we're good with what we just covered then. We'll continue onward. And it has to do with the budget approval for the maintenance items that we've talked about the previous couple meetings, I believe.
Yeah, so we had a company come in and basically give us a quote. We thought the quote was very, very high. We had someone else come in who we were waiting on a quote. They ended up coming back and saying they didn't feel comfortable doing it. And so we have another person that we think is going to be able to quote it. So Matt and I kind of got together. We looked at some just rough estimates of what we think this stuff is going to be. So there are 2 doors that need to be replaced. One of them is completely rusted out, and then the other one is very close. There is the front door up here. We really don't know what that needs other than there's two concretes that aren't aligning, and at some point or another somebody tried to fill the gap, and so there's some work there that needs to be done. And then there are 3 windows. Worst case scenario, 4 windows, sorry. Worst case scenario, we may have to replace those windows. You really don't know until you get into them. We are going to, so we just heard back from Shiver Glass. They're going to come in and recaulk everything and see if that works first. But if, yeah, it's cheap enough to try it. So if we have to end up doing all this stuff, you're talking about 20 grand. And then there are heaters in the back that need to be replaced. We have those, and we're now going to forced air instead of the exploders, the ones that look like an iron or underneath of I forget what they're called, but and it's, essentially those are 10 grand. So I am asking worst case scenario, if we have to end up replacing the windows, 30 grand to get this equipment or to get it fixed. And so we didn't put this in budget. We were hoping to already have this kind of concluded and done. So I'm just asking for approval because it's not in our budget. So yeah, it's going to be maintenance.
The maintenance budget on that line is full, but there's plenty of other lines in that budget.
You just want to approve
A
the dollar amount.
budget
The dollar amount was just.
I would cap it at 30.
For future.
So you want a motion?
I would cap it at
To
30.
include a capping it at 30.
30 down.
That's what. Okay, we have a first. Second, Vito, second. We're capping it at 30. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say. We're good there as well. All right, we have then the next tab, a number of policy changes. Some of them are minor. So I'll let you.
You want me to do the training first, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. So as we go through these, the line extension process is up for review. So that's kind of what kicked this off. So plus, if you guys, we've made a lot of changes to this process since we've got new employees with new eyes. And, you know, I think 20 years ago, these processes were left pretty wide open because in our industry that works. But nowadays with folks wanting more and more information, I think we need to hone down a little bit. So we've made a lot of changes to it. And so what I asked you, I want to continuously improve this process. And so I asked you all to fill out a survey, and I took your data from the survey and kind of came up with the following. So, but I thought at first, I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need to go through, does everybody understand how we do line extensions today? Or I'm going to call it facility work, right? So whether somebody wants a service upgrade, they need a primary extension extended, they're putting in a new house, they're moving a barn, all these different work things. I wanted to go through some training so everybody's on the same thing, and then we'll go through maybe some opportunities going forward. So the first slide, it goes over, there are really 4 different things that a member is going to call us for, right? The first one is a line extension, which means we are taking primary and extending it. So primary is 1200 volts. It's the primary line prior to, and I'll show you a picture of it here in a minute. The next one is facilities relocation. So this is a member saying, hey, you got a pole right where I want to build a building. Hey, I want this underground, whatever, right? It's facilities relocation. Service upgrades would be, hey, I want to put a barn in, or hey, I'm going to go from a 200 amp to a 400 amp. When a member is asking for facilities to be upgraded due to load growth. And then the last one is they live on the side of the road. There's 3-phase there, and all it takes is a secondary wire. There is no primary extension. Those are really the 4 buckets that everything fits in. So that we're all on the same page here, I wanted to go through the definitions of this. So our primary wire is before the transformer, right? So it's our main 3-phase, 6-phase lines of power. That's what we consider primary. Secondary wire is after the transformer, right? But in between the meter. If there's a meter, now 90% of these don't have service. There are some out there that have what we call service wire, which is there's a meter pedestal and then they have a wire that goes to the house that goes into a panel. We don't own the service wire, they own the service wire. We own the meter. Right? So that's kind of the definitions there. So a line extension is, again, it's construction of the primary facility. So I need to extend this. This is, I don't know, let's just say a half mile, right? I can't put a transformer out here and construct a half mile. You'd have so many blinks. So I have to extend this line all the way over here and put a transformer there. And then that is primary extension. So how do we do that? For a year-round residence, so just for a normal resident, you follow policy 201, which tells you to go to rules and regs, rule 25. We do a cost estimate. We do 30-month revenue credit. You subtract those 2 and it gives you a cost and aid in construction. There are no true ups, and the secondary wire and transformer are not included because they're part of rates, right? So that's how we do it today. For any year-round house, that's basically what we're doing.
Go back one screen, please.
Yep.
Okay, so the secondary wire and the so
This wire right here, look at this. This wire right here to serve, let's just say this. This wire right here is included in rates because every member needs it. And then the transformer. Now, if you require a bigger transformer than what our regular transformer is, then there's a lot of. So this is pretty easy, right? That's how we do all of them. You rarely hear very many complaints when it comes to, well, you do, but not as many on this one. And it's because you don't have that true component. So the second one is a short-term service. This is a temporary power construction site, special event or some type of festival. A great example is we had a concrete company put a temporary plan out on 74. We had to go get them that. It's very simple. They pay all the cost up front and the removal cost. So whatever it costs to put it in, whatever it costs to take it out, they pay that up. No, that is separate. This would be, it's a complete temporary. No, that's it. This is more for like a construction site. Like a,
It's temporary and it's not going to be replaced by something.
it's going to be gone, it's never going to be here. It's only there.
And if it could it be eventually, I mean, would that be a scenario where it's intended to be temporary but becomes?
That's what this one is. This one means it's going to be there for short term and it's going to be gone forever.
No, I understand that, but is there, okay,
What he's talking about is we're putting the service in temporary,
Construct the house.
and then they construct the house and then we put.
there you go, that's, okay.
That's different. The other type of line extension is all the other ones, right? So these are barns, seasonally occupied, camper hookups, whatever you can think of. We group those all into one. It falls Rule 25, and what we do there is it costs us. So we do the exact same thing as the other one. The only difference is we're not giving them any type of revenue credit. We're just taking the service fee. So the $37 on single phase times 12 or times 20, 30 months. That's what they do. And then they owe the daily construction. There's no truth. And again, that's because these are possibly stranded assets on something that's not going to usage. Okay, now I'm going to move to a line extension for three-phase. So this was where it differs a little. We follow the same rules and regs. You take a cost estimate, you do a 30-month revenue, they pay the difference. Again, secondary wire and transformer are included. The difference in three phases, we do a true up. That's the major difference. After 30 months, we're going to, and I'll show you in a minute. Yeah.
So how is the revenue credit arrived at?
That's the tricky part. So what we're trying to do is to figure out what is your load, what's your bill going to be
Based on their input, based on information they provide.
based upon information that they give us, and you're going to see here in a minute why that is so, and why that gets screwed up this way. You're ahead. Okay, so let's just say this is a made up thing, but the work order costs, we estimate it's going to cost $9,000 to put this three-phase line extension. We figure out what their load's going to be, and we come up with, here's what their revenue credit is for 30 months. Let's just say it's $6,000. They're going to get a credit of $6,000. They're going to owe us $3,000 to start with. Right? Okay, we go do the work. We find out that we did it a little bit cheaper. Right? Which is going to happen. We're job shop. It's never going to be completely right on. The revenue credit, they actually used more than what we expected. Right? So they should have paid $1,600, not $3,000. So then what we do is a true up, subtract the two. This should happen. So, yeah, but we owe them $1,300 because they use more. So that's the typical way that we use. They go all over.
And then is it check issued or is it bill credit?
It's a check issue.
Okay.
Because the 3,000 they paid, right?
Yep.
They would say 30,000, right?
Yeah, they would have paid the $3,000 up front, and you never go for that $3,000. So let's just say for some reason they used $10,000 here and ended up saying this. You would never give more than what they paid. And we're not going to pay people for this. Okay, so facility credits. These apply for every scenario. It's the same. You guys remember these? We put this in place. If it's 30 years old or less, you get zero credit. If it's between 31 and 44, you get 25% life for life. 45% or over, you get 50%. Changes in design are our benefit. If you tell me if we design this from point A to point B, Johnny said, well, we need C in here, so you can't get to it. We're going to pay you to get C, right? And then cap for this process, this is something we put in place probably a year ago, is anything under 750 kW, right? So 3/4 of a megawatt. Anything over that, it's a special contract. And the reason is let's just say you have Toyota come in here and want to put in a new plant. You're not going to get the revenue credits because they wouldn't pay you. So it's capped. We capped that by a year. There is a future line extension credit that's applicable for all of them. If they follow right away, they get $2 per linear square foot. The reason this was put in place way prior to me was how do we deal with the fact that Dale puts in a line extension, he pays for it, and then Jason builds off that line extension 5 years later. So the idea is to get rid of this whole, like, how do you discount that? How do you, it's too complicated. The industry best practices is you give somebody $2 linear to put it in there. And then the information section, the only reason I bring this up is because this is where I'm going to hone in on our correction, what I think is an opportunity for us moving forward. The only place it talks about how do you come up with the estimates is here. And it basically says all estimates of cost as required and to be above are determined by the REMC from actual experiences. That's all it says. There's nothing else about where do you go to estimate these things, right? Do you use per square foot? How do you get to that estimate, right? Do you use the average cost of something? Do you use the current cost of something? How do you come up with those costs? That's the only place to tell. So then what I did, oh no, we got one more. Facility relocation. So this is if the member is wanting something for beautification or something's in the way, they pay the full cost up front, right? We have an asset in the ground it's working. All the other members shouldn't have to pay for that. Again, that's what we do, but the facility credits do apply to that. Service upgrade, this is where they're doing some load growth. We just changed this, if you guys remember. You take a cost estimate, you subtract the 30 months revenue, that's what they pay. There are no true ups and facility credits applied. So this is for any service upgrade. If you remember, prior to, service upgrades were free. We changed that, I don't know, a year or two ago. And then if there's a new service that's right off of the road, so let's just say I'm putting in a house, it's literally 50 feet off the road. All it's going to require is a transformer and secondary. There's no cost to the member because we don't charge for those two components, right? And so there are quite a few of these that happen. And I always hear, well, why did that person have to pay? Well, because they didn't extend the primary line. They just came off of secondary, and secondary and transformers and rates.
What if my house is 400 feet off?
Then you're going to need a line extension. So we're going to have to extend the primary, otherwise just 200. 200 feet you could do.
I'm looking for that sweet spot. where they got a line extension.
200.
200 ways.
Yeah. You go much over 200, you're going to start seeing void. Yeah, ask him if he had that. Okay, so I asked you guys for specifics. 200 is usually
Once you get, I don't know how much you draw.
Yeah, I understand that's some places that are far back in it.
Oh, there's some that are 300-400.
Yeah. Oh,
That was back
Depends on how much you draw.
codes have changed. But I guarantee you, if it's that far back, there's some points.
Now, if you got a road going in, it's 300 yards, do you go underground with that far?
Yeah, what we would do is we do primary all the way back underground, and then pattern out. The only difference is the pattern out transformers. Okay, so I asked you guys for some specific examples. Hopefully you'll know which one's yours if you put it in here. I think Jason put yours in here for you. And so I wanted to come up. I'm a big root cause person. And if you look at your guys' iPad, you'll see we did a 5 why on there for each one of these. So there's details of how we got to this. But I wanted to use real life examples on what are the opportunities and what can we do to help that, right? So the first one was the member was frustrated because the first estimate was much lower cost than the final estimate prior to construction. Jason, I believe this one may be yours. Because the first estimate was much lower cost than the final estimate. Yeah, this is yours. I put this one in. So we went back and looked at that exact example, and what it really got into is the organization assumes the members have the technical knowledge to accurately estimate their load requirements without providing validation or support, leading to inaccurate initial estimates and member frustration. So what this means is we are asking the member, what is your load? What's your load, right? And so for this exact example, basically what we got was, here's all the motors we have around them. So we did the calculation of the connected load. They're going to run it all at the same time. And it gave them a revenue credit that was huge. And which meant they didn't have to pay a whole lot. So the member got some advice on that, came back to us and said, well, this doesn't seem right. And so we said, okay, what's your load? Well, we'll probably have this one on, this one off. So we ended up kind of saying, hey, let's look at someone similar to you and try to mimic what that load is. Well, what we found out is that the load was a lot less than everything on, which meant the revenue credit was much more, which meant they paid more. Now, what I would argue is, and my corrective action for this one is, you keep the true ups on the loads. We're never going to get these right. All we're trying to do, I mean, the root cause is most people that we deal with really don't know exactly what their load is going to look like, unless they're an industry or.
Should the next somebody sit there running through.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible. I mean, for you, could you imagine trying to tell us when you're going to have your blowers on and when you're not, and when you're going to be moving stuff in your leg and when you're not? It's damn near impossible, right? And so all we're trying to do is throw the dart, hit the dartboard. You know, if we can hit the bullseye, that's great. But all we're trying to do is hit the dartboard. That's why I truly believe in we do need to do a true up on this. I don't think you're ever going to get to the point where you're going to get completely accurate on this. Johnny's saying maybe I'm wrong, and he's investigating a process to try some software or something to try to better estimate these loads and help our members. That just the root cause here is there's no good way for them unless they have someone that's, you know, an engineer that's designing these systems and knows exactly, you know, when things are going to go on, when things are going to go off. It's a guess, and so those are going to major. Just in this example, it was a $10,000 swing.
Well, and whether they just miss it or the load never materializes. If we don't do the true up, we've absorbed all that cost of putting it in.
That's sort of part of the reason we do the aided construction, though, right? That is supposed to try to. That's why you do the whole licensing process, is to try to pay for some of that up front.
Couldn't there be such a thing as like an average of 2,500 square foot house uses X, a 3,000 square foot house uses X?
So for that one, it's not going to be a problem because we already can do that. That's houses aren't a problem, never a problem.
Okay.
This is literally, we have a calculator.
Okay.
You put the square foot, it's exactly what
We don't have.
we do not have it for this because it's just so wild that a farmer's not going to know because it depends on the year.
This example really was not that the first estimate, the construction estimate wasn't the problem, it was the usage.
Yeah, they came and told us here's all.
That said, it's the construction.
Oh,
That's not.
No, prior to construction. So the estimates of the load prior to construction were all.
The usage, not that I read that as to say that the project cost.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Verbiage.
That's
What I meant to say there is it's the overall cost that it's the.
Because that was this member's fault, because that member said, I need to move that line over here because I'm gonna keep those trees right there.
Yeah, that.
Oh.
That member did that fault.
Yeah.
But you would expect to do that.
Yeah.
As the member, yeah.
So the corrective actions that I say corrective actions, but the opportunities here is Johnny is looking at trying to investigate if there are softwares and things. We've already got the home is easy because it's based upon a per square foot, and there's a couple other things in there that it has, and we can get pretty damn close on a house. On these other services that are, you know, weld shop or a farming was the most difficult. That's what we had. But in my opinion, really the answer is you keep the true ups, right? So what if we miss it? We're going to either give you money back or you're going to owe us at the end. And it's way easier to have a conversation with the member and say, me and you sat down together and we thought you were going to use this. You didn't use this. So this
Makes it much more subjective to me.
yeah.
But part of that process in the overhaul was the review.
Yes, and we're still doing mid rounds.
Yeah, that's,
They kind of added that
Yes, we added that about.
Here's where you are, if you don't start grind,
You're gonna have to pay.
So,
We typically don't do the mid-years though, when they're way ahead. I will say that. All right, so the next example is a member gets frustrated with just the line. Someone put this in here, and so the member gets frustrated with the line extension process. Okay, so that was an input. So we kind of did the 5 why in this, and what it really gets back to is we created a process, a line extension process, way different than anybody in our industry. First of all, we created this process to try to be as fairly, to be very, very fair when there's a wide variety of scenarios. That's policy writing 101, don't do, right? It's impossible. When you have a variation that's this big and you're writing a policy to try to completely be fair, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's just, that's what it is. We are a job shop. Every job is completely different, and we're trying to be as fair as possible. And it's just, it makes the policy very hard to interpret, and our people don't understand it. That's just all it gets down to. They don't understand why a guide wire costs $500. They don't understand why this, I'm making stuff up, but essentially they just don't understand it, right? And it's because we're providing all this documentation about the cost. I mean, how many times have we heard of give me a bill or what's it called, a bill of material with all an itemized list, right? We give all that stuff to try to be fair as possible, but the scenarios are so different that we built. It's a process that's not going to work. It never will. And so our opinion is to fix this, is to simplify this process by using a price per foot. So it's easy for people to understand, and it's standardized. So if Jason goes out and measures, it's 300 feet, you go out and measure and you're 300 feet, you're going to come up with the same cost. That's how easy it is, right? So there'll be a bunch of different ones. So it's going to depend on the wire size, whether it's above ground or below ground. And there's a couple other scenarios that we'll put in there, but we're basically going to have a price chart. We'll update it either quarterly, semi-annually, or however we want to do it. And it's very simple. This is how far you are, and here's what the cost per square or per linear foot. And that will be based upon real life, what our costs are, and we'll update those price sheets every so often. And then the second part of this is you get rid of this true up process, because on the cost side, not the revenue side. The revenue side, you're going to keep truing up because you're never going to be very good there. And it's pretty easy to explain. This true up on the cost side, we're trying to be so fair, it's costing the members more in the long run. I mean,
Well, it's like you got a pound of bolts.
yeah. So those are our 2 recommendations. What I'm looking for tonight is this something that you guys want us to build, or is this not palatable? And again, this is based upon root causes. I mean, I remember, I think Jason was one of them that said, can you please fix this so we quit hearing about this? And I think I came and gave you some solutions last time. They weren't quite, they didn't have that top one in there, but they had the bottom one in there. And I think this is the solution that's going to make this way better. It is standardized. It doesn't matter who you are.
We ran enough of the orders. It's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
The difference, the standard deviation is actually less than the other one.
Yeah. So we ran about 15-minute process, and it's a tiny bit better.
So on that standard price per foot, is that something you would publish out there, or would it be on the website that they could go out and say?
No, not necessarily. We probably would.
About the internal calculation.
The internal calculation. I mean, we would go through that.
This size wire, that's all they can determine.
Yeah, because the size of wire, it's underground
This
or over,
one's-
big difference.
Yep.
If you're 3-phase underground versus single phase overhead, your cost difference per foot is pretty large.
But could you put something like that out there?
I guess you could,
But they're not gonna know what size wire they need. That's
You can count upon them to have an electrician or somebody. Big or small.
I mean, it'll get out there because we're not going to. The whole point of this is it's simple, and we can explain it, and we can put it right in front of them. Here's our template. Here's what the costs are for these different models. And we can do real quick. Everybody always asks about, can you give me a price for above ground compared to, this is really quick, right?
What's a matrix?
The matrix, and you just put the
You put in
put the numbers in there, and here's what it'd be over here, here's what it is.
1,500 feet. What is that?
Underground, underground?
It's very easy conversation when you sit down with somebody and you say, we put together, these are standardized costs. And here's the other deal is the long, someone could say, well, what if one needs 4 poles and one needs 1 pole? Well, that's a function of linear foot, right? So the farther the linear foot, the more poles you're going to need, blah, 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 blah.
So the only variable then is your true up on.
Low revenue side, which will
That's
keep.
pretty easy. We conceded to use fire, didn't we?
That is never,
The end of 30 months, you used X. You said you was going to use Y. Here's the difference. It's what you owe or what we owe you.
and that's usually a pretty easy conversation. Either way,
You're,
it's easy.
Well, it's quantifiable.
it's not arguable.
But the problem with that is just what you explained in the first deal. Someone comes out and says, what are you gonna run? How are you gonna run it? Blah, blah, blah. How many of these bids are you gonna have on? I feel like. the
People
member-
don't know.
No.
Member doesn't know.
No. So
I would
how
say-
do you help them know what their revenue credit actually should be?
And so that's a little bit of a trigger difference than what we're always thinking. I mean, I've always asked that same question is like, well, it's not our responsibility to know what their load is. That's their responsibility. I can't assume what they need, right? That's not our job. Well, I don't know though. Can we provide some tools?
Because we weren't doing that. For those before. Maybe we are now. I don't know.
No, we're still not. I mean, we're asking, you need to know what your load is. If you don't know, you need to go get an electrician that can help you. You need to tell us what you need. If you come to me and say, I need 1,000 and then we build 1,000 and we burn it up, that's not on me, right? As an electric company, there has to be some ownership. But my point is I think we could help provide some tools. Maybe there's some software, maybe there's some,
But we don't.
I mean, when we deal with an industry, it's completely different. They know like by second what their demand is. Again, this really comes down to, we created a process to try to be transparent and fair when the scenarios are all unique. There's not a job the same, and that just does not work. And so simplify it and standardize it. Now it doesn't matter who you call in and get, whether it's Jenny, Matt, Johnny, doesn't matter. As long as they can roll a wheel pretty similar to each other, they're going to come up with the same numbers. And it's easy to explain. I can sit down and say, here's how we came up with that number.
Well, your variable, you got 3 variables. Distance, underground.
Wire size.
That's about it.
But you did mention that you're gonna be modifying that cost every
Probably a year.
year.
We haven't
So
really.
because I can
Unless
still
something
see in the
changes
future,
drastically.
somebody's gonna say, well, that person got it for, but it's because of the yearly increase then.
Yeah.
Or every quarter or.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Depending on what it is, yeah.
But
Because if it was like COVID, you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, we'll come up
Exactly.
with that. I don't know what it's not that hard to run.
No.
And what's interesting about this is about 30 years ago, that's how they used to do it.
Is it?
When Brian Keith first started, this is how. But I think we got into, well, we want to be fair and fair, and we did this.
Well, we said account. That'll work.
So this is, if you want the opportunity to reduce frustrations with our members, this is the best answer I can give you.
And the accuracy is still there too. I don't.
Yeah.
We talk about fairness, but it's at the same time, it's still as accurate as the other way. It's just instead of getting a list of, well, this one had 3 guide wires here, 2 there, and this one had a A1 or I mean, the difference is so. Yeah.
I think you're on the right track.
Guys?
I'm glad that we're working on it. that you're working on.
I think it's a logical approach without a doubt.
I like it a lot better.
So we don't have anyone that would estimate what someone's load would be if they saved this, that, or that would know that, what someone's load would be, say, for example.
So as an electric utility, I don't want to tell you what your load is because if I screw it up, it's on.
What we need to do is recommend, would you recommend some electrician or somebody, hey, look.
We do, but I'm not.
You just say, hey, go get somebody to figure out your load. That's pretty much what you're saying.
I don't think we want to recommend having a list of.
Well, we need to tell them something, we say, hey, find an electrician, go right, and that's what it's there.
That's what we do.
That's all you can do, you can't.
Unless Carl, we can figure out if there's a good software out there, if there's some type of calculator, something we can come up with and say, hey, get your electrician in here. We're going to sit down and try to go through this together. Maybe that could happen.
Somebody put up agreements, it's a.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how wet the corn is. What, you know, I mean. So I do got one more that I wanted to go over that I forgot. So this one was the members upset. Steve, this one was yours with the line extension project because the actual cost was much higher than. So this is the one you guys probably hear a lot of too, right? So in other words, we gave them a price of $5,000 and it ended up being $8,000. That's what this one is. This was a real life example. So there was two root causes here. One was the estimate didn't include an expiration date. So when we gave them the first estimate, 18 months later is when they told us to go. And we didn't update the cost. We just went. There is no standardized process to ensure members receive and understand construction plans before they begin the right to develop. The other problem with this one was where we had planned to bury it. When we went out 18 months later to bury it, there was a septic there. And there was other stuff in the way. So it completely changed. So number one, in 18 months, the material and labor went way up. And we had to bore and cut around and do some other things. So the cost was completely different. Now, the corrective action on this one, we've already added expiration dates and disclaimers. Donnie did that when we first got here. And we've developed clear member communication. So you guys remember we put that checklist in place. There's a drawing section in there. So they'll actually draw it and put in there so that folks know. Obviously, this is on us a little bit, right? I mean, this person obviously didn't know we were trench there. So now today we actually develop those communication, those checklists and that sketch, and the member actually signs off on the document. The other thing that we're looking at that we don't do today is to implement some type of process that if we don't hear from them, that we end up giving them a call and saying, hey, is this one dead or is this still alive? Because the costs are changing. You know, it's only good for 30 days, I think is what our extension is. So this one's already pretty much taken care of.
That's typical, you get an estimate, anyway, to display on it, it's valid for 30 days.
So the three recommendations that we're saying here is to simplify the process using price per foot so it's easy to understand and standardize. Get rid of the true up of the cost after 30 months on the one that we do that on. And then investigate a process to estimate load using calculators and service size or type. I don't know that we'll get to the number 3, but I would like to bring forward to you next month 1 and 2, if that is so desired. And I'll redline it and bring it in for you.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Everybody good?
And that'll still be in the rules and regs as opposed to a separate policy.
Correct.
Is that correct? Good.
We go through these?
Yeah, keep us on task. Yeah. Brett's going to go through these changes that have been made on these other policies there.
All right. So sick leave is simple. We changed from sickness to illness, and we say that sick leave may be used when an employee is not feeling well. That was recommended during COVID, and we just never got it changed in here. So if someone doesn't feel well, we tell them they can use sick leave. That's the only change we made. Membership, cooperation, regulations for services for motors. There is only one change, and honestly, this is the way we do it today. We just clarified a member will purchase his own equipment and be responsible for its operation when it has to do with this policy. Other than that, there's really no change. Stop me if you have questions. Theft. Okay, so the old policy was called power diversion, which is basically somebody is stealing electricity. That was the only policy we had. What we're recommending as the new policy is to incorporate unauthorized removal of a meter and or a meter tag. So we have had quite a few instances here where the meter tag is gone. We go back and look at the meter data and it was gone for an extended period of time, which means an electrician or somebody took the meter off themselves to basically disconnect power from the house, which is a big no-no because there's a huge safety thing there. And so the lineman brought this to me, or to Johnny. Johnny brought it to me. We came up with a process basically here of how we would do it. So essentially, if we found out that a meter tag was taken off, we'd start an investigation. We'd send out somebody to take pictures. The meter department would go back and look at the system to show that it was actually removed. Because there's a big difference between I don't like my neighbor, so I'm going to cut his tag off, and someone pulling the whole meter out. So you'd have to qualify two things. One, the tag would have to be gone, and two, we'd have to be able to show that the meter was actually removed, which we can do through our meter data. We can tell that. So if those two things happen, we would basically let the member or electrician know in writing that they're in violation and there's a potential penalty. And the fee for unauthorized or removal of tag and meter is $500, and it may be assessed. So I did have legal review this. That's why you see the may in there. There are some ideas kind of like, hey, I didn't understand this. You may get one forgiveness, right? So she highly recommended putting may in there. And then the other thing with this is we thought about creating a flyer when we implement this, and taking it up to the courthouse so that when anybody comes to pull a permit, that they'll get this so that they know that if as the homeowner, my electrician says he's going to pull this meter, I could be liable for this penalty, right? And then we'll also distribute it to do some type of bill insert or throw it in the magazine or something. So we're not going to just put this in place and start charging people. We're going to market it. We'll put it uptown, like I said, and make sure that folks know. And so that is what we've changed. I checked with all the other REMCs. There are, of the 5 that I checked, 2 that have this policy and 3 that do not.
Has there ever been an occurrence in which the meter was removed and destroyed in some fashion? In other words, could that dollar amount that you listed here at 500 could it actually be more than that? Is it possible for somebody to destroy a meter? I'm just questioning. Maybe you say up to 500. I don't know. The fee for unauthorized meter taken, because if it's destroyed because they shouldn't have moved it to begin with,
I don't know that
would that be
I think that's probably
would still be in the
less
line?
likely.
Yeah, well,
I don't know that they would actually. Normally, someone that's taken this thing off is like an electrician,
right?
They
And they're
know
just.
what they're doing.
I understand. Okay.
Well, I don't know if they know what they're doing because they shouldn't be pulling a
Would you-
meter. But
So what responsibility does the member have if a meter goes bad, they don't know wiring like that? Or say someone goes on vacation, meter goes bad and they're not,
that's fine. We would replace it.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, they're not pilling us. Yeah, no, that wouldn't pull this. We would just come out and replace that as soon as we found out. Tell them to call in and we can go out. We'll do a meter check. And
Well,
if
they
it's,
realize that their electric's a lot cheaper. Why is that not too much? I don't know.
it doesn't work. These new meters won't allow that too. We'll know that right away a lot quicker.
What about something a little bit more simple? I live next to Steve, and I want electricity, but I don't want to get service. I just go to his garage and I plug into one of his outside outlets. Seriously, and I know of a situation that's happened on Birmingham. run an extension cord over to my property so his meter starts spinning for everything that I'm drawing.
That would go under power diversion. That would be the top part, which I'm not changing anything there. That's theft.
Stuff from a neighbor. It's like a fire company.
Yeah. And actually that might,
That doesn't probably qualify under us anyway. That's you got to see your neighbor.
that's on you.
Yeah.
All right.
So the legal is basically saying J is worded properly in their mind. I mean, they're not gonna change anything. The fee. It may be assessed. They want to keep that wording.
She thinks you need to leave the may in there because there may be situations where,
Okay,
you know, you want to do something different.
right, I understand. Okay.
The girls up front kind of even talked about like maybe everyone gets kind of like, because there could be like, you know, I didn't know, or it's the first time this person's ever done it, or who knows? You just never know. So. All right. You mean,
Yeah,
move
continue.
on. So that one there, you guys will have to approve. Well, you're going to approve all these. What am I talking about? All right. The next one, both these next two, we did not see any changes other than I think I changed general manager to CEO. Other than that, there was nothing changed. We didn't see anything that needed to be changed.
So what I'm gonna recommend is that we can go ahead and approve all of them at one time, or unless we want a extension on policy 1111. Is there any reason for us to wait and do that next month? And if everybody's good with it, we can just approve all the changes in one time. Okay. I need a motion for all the changes that are. Okay, we got a first. Brian seconds. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So all the changes then have been approved, including that's a new policy, right? Here.
Well, it's an addition to an existing.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, gotcha. All right. Next item has to do with governance, and I know I brought up last month, you know, with Dale and Steve talking about Brian Singletary's recommendations. So Brett has some information he's going to share with us, and then we can talk a little bit further after this.
All right. So one thing, if you haven't looked at the history one, I would like you to go through that because it really shows that we have been following visions, and that creates strategy, and that strategy creates, you know, what we do. So it does matter. And I think we've done some really, really good things. And therefore I'd love you to take a look at that history. What I'm going to go over is kind of I'm going to call it Vision 2.0. It's kind of what we're doing today and what my plans are going forward. And I'm hoping to talk you into this. All right. So just a real quick recap. If you don't know, mission is what we do and why we exist, right? A lot of times missions don't really change a whole lot for companies like us. Those stay usually pretty stagnant. But a vision is where are we going and why? Those do change, right? So a vision is important because if you don't tell me from a board standpoint where you want us to go, I'm going to decide, right? Because I got to figure out where we're going so I can create some strategy behind that. Otherwise, we're going to be stagnant and we are going to be who we are today, which isn't what I think anybody wants. So vision is where we are today. Strategy is how do we get there. So strategy is the plan to get to the vision. Goals are just measurements along the way, and then values are our beliefs and behaviors that guide us. So I think that's important. So I brought you guys this probably 6 months ago, and I said, hey, here's kind of the high level. And the purpose I brought you this was to say, we probably aren't going to be able to do any type of strategic planning with the board and my leadership staff until probably 27, right? And the reason was because we had the cost of service study going on. We had fiber phase 1. We had the strategic execution process that we were going to do. RF meter project, fiber 2 possibly. So I showed you guys this and you came back and said, you got too much on here. Let's kill this strategic execution process. In fact, my leadership team was telling me the same thing. So it was a great idea. So we kind of put a hold on that, right? Since then, we've brought the fiber project phase 1 from September of 26 into the end of 25 as far as the construction.
The technology roadmap, we brought that into being a 2-year project into one. Fiber phase 2 is going to be there, right? That's why I told you mid 27, Jason, because that's what we kind of estimated from the beginning, which meant this Vision 2.0 could have either been plan A or plan B, depending on if we did phase 2. So it's probably going to be more like plan B. So you can ignore plan A, which means the next time that you guys would be involved in strategic plan would be like in 28. So knowing that, I want to make sure that what I'm going forward with in this planning, you guys are on board with. So I'm calling this Vision 2.0, and here's the statement. You ready? It's to lead the future of energy cooperatives defined by operational excellence and workplace where people love to work and are proud to serve. So there's 2 components there. One, in my belief, we are a co-op that shows up, we put our best foot forward, and it ends where we end, right? There's not a lot of processes that develop continuous improvement as far as measuring, reacting, and planning, and doing all those things. It's just kind of it's a process. It's an organization that just kind of, we do our best, we put things, and we just, there's not a lot of planning and things and measuring that go on. So that's the first part. The second part is culture, right? We've been working on culture since 2018. That is something I believe I was hired for. And so that's something that I believe we want to continue to work on. So how do we do this? In my opinion, so the first part of this is what I just told you, which is revitalizing the business structure using a strategic execution process. I built the strategic execution process when I was at Home manufacturing. That's how they operate, right? It's how their continuous improvement and how they operate their businesses. That's it's just how they operate. And the best way to put it is, it's all about, you create a plan, you measure it, and you respond to it. And I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. So you may ask me, oh yeah, right here. So again, this is just an illustration of it. So you come up with a plan. So let's just say our plan is right? And we in week 1 we want to do 8 miles. Week 12 we want to do 12. Okay, well we did 6 the first week, so it's red, right? I got visual management up there, measuring where we're at. And then we can take action on it. So we'll have group meetings and we'll sit down around this and look at it and say, is our plan working or is it not working? If it isn't working, then we can change, right? We can react. So why this is important is because it creates a process that's continuous improvement focused, right? If I'm looking at what my goal is and why I'm hitting it or why I'm not hitting it, and we're all sitting around the table trying to figure that out, it's not really the numbers and the process, it's the discussions that you have and the actions that you take. You're going to get productivity improvements. Accountability is a big thing. As part of our culture, that's one of the big words people use is everybody needs to be held accountable. This holds you accountable. Well, you're supposed to hit 8 miles, you only hit 6. Why? Right? Allows managers to manage and focus on projects. Manage the business as a well-oiled machine, and there's a lot less firefighting because we're actually planning, right? So there's the whys. That's the first part of the strategy. The second part of the strategy is to work on our culture. And so we've updated our culture statement. It talks about we engage. It's no different. The only thing we added was accountability. These are the things that I've heard from employees. These are the things that we're really expecting people from a culture. This is how we're going to interact with each other. We want people engaged. We want to work as a team. We're going to respect each other, but we're going to hold each other accountable. So how are we going to do that? Or why are we going to do that? Because we want to retain the momentum. So if you look at 2017, we were at a very, very low assessment in our culture. We shot up 120%. And since then, we've just kind of slowly declined, right? And so we want to regain that momentum that we had. I believe if you have happy employees that are at their best, you're going to have less turnover and you're going to have productivity improvements, right? So that's the whys. Now, the strategy to get there, what are we going to, okay, this is a statement, right? What are you doing, right? We're going to have employee engagement events. So we've set a plan of here's how many events we've been doing this, right? The strategic execution that I talked about, it's way easier for someone to feel valued if they see how their work goes into the business. So for example, we just started transactional surveys, and Ashley, our billing person, was working with somebody for over 45 minutes on understanding their bill. That person got a transactional survey and filled it out and said that they were really angry at the REMC. And after that 45-minute call, they knew everything they needed to know, and they were so happy. When she saw that data up on the thing, that made her day, right, Ashley? So those are the types of things that if you can show that, hey, look, my hard work actually meant something to the company, the number actually moved, I hit my goal, you get happier employees. And then last, company-driven goals is something I want to do. So when we do this process, I really want to bring up some type of small bonus structure or something that everyone is accountable for in this company, whether it's a reliability goal. Hey, we want to raise our SAIDI from this to this, whether it's whatever goals it is, to have all those overarching goals that come from this process. I've seen this in manufacturing my entire career prior to this. This is how you get better processes, better, all these things that I'm talking about. So to wrap up, again, our strategy is, the vision. How do we get to the vision that I told you, right? To become operational excellence and to become a happy culture. That's what it looks like all together. And so what I'm asking you guys is the board in alignment with the vision, which is stated up there? And then number two, if you are, you probably won't be involved in strategic planning or vision until 2028 because of the things that we got going on, and we've already got the vision and strategy. So if you agree with the vision statement that's out there and the strategy that I just outlined, you guys wouldn't be involved in offsite strategic planning until probably mid to late 2028. So those are the two things that I'm asking the board is, are you in alignment with where I've been heading or where I am heading? And I shortened that way up so that I didn't lose y'all. Because when I gave it to my leadership team, they said, yeah, that's way too much. That's why you got the history. Make sense?
I think so. What's everybody think?
I'm good with it all, and after listening to Brian, we did back in July or whatever, it kind of reinforced, I've been through this before in other places. Go back to that last screen. I guess but just an observation, 2028 is a long time.
Yep.
From now.
It is.
It is very possible, I would say probable or likely or whatever, that this configuration of the board could literally be 100% different than what it is right now.
That's why I'm asking for approval.
So that approval would apply to not us as individuals, but to the board. That would be a commitment for the board in 2028, regardless of the configuration of the board. Is that what you're looking for?
That's why I think you memorialize this into a motion. That doesn't mean that another board can't change it, but it at least memorializes it.
To change it, otherwise.
Correct.
The plan is to execute this.
And would it include the missions? Can you go back to the mission statement that would kind of encompass that as well, right?
Oh, I don't think I put the
Not
mission statement on
necessarily.
here.
No, okay. Just the vision.
Yep.
Just the vision okay.
I'm asking you to approve the Vision 2.0 and the strategy that goes along with it.
Okay.
Which is, right, all of it is,
Right.
here somewhere, right there.
Everybody else?
And there's dollars tied to this, right? I can't tell you exactly
Well, we
what
don't
it
know what they
is,
are,
but
yeah.
I mean, when we talk about employee engagement events, we're closing down the office in October the 10th to do a community event together. We're going to paint something, I can't remember, South Decatur. And so we're closing down the office so that we can, as a team, it's a team building thing kind of. And so those things cost money and productivity, but that's that's something that we're dedicated to doing to get to this future state that we want.
So I think we need a motion to approve.
Is there any other conversation? Comments, questions, suggestions from anybody? If not, I'll make that.
Okay, at first.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. I'll ask for further discussion at this point as well then. Does anybody have any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. So it's unanimous. We're good. All right, I'll continue onward. I'm not aware of any, but what, yes, I am. We have, we're gonna do a report out. Are we? Yeah.
I went to, I just see the new building. I had not been up there for the new building, so I went there for the first time. It was on culture and key accounts, talking about internal and external accounts. I was,
So is this a VLC fund, Susan?
no, it's a general class offered by Wabash Valley IEC and Richmond. It was not a VLC. Well, you got approved by I got 6 credits to CEU. Does that mean anything to anybody? No, it doesn't.
It is not BLC, but that's okay. Yeah, it's
Checked it off the list, so it was real. Actually, it was one of the better ones I've been to because I sat there first. I was 50 and about 50 in attendance. I was the only board member. Handful of the COOs, CEOs, marketing, Crystal attended. So I was like sitting there first, like it was interesting, but this was kind of interesting though. So they said for the CEOs and CEOs, one of the things for them to the board, as I'm sitting as a board member, to admit that you're not an expert on anything and go get the information before you just start answering questions. I didn't, our EMC is pretty small. I'm sitting there with, let me tell you my new friends.
because you have some.
Joe Klein from TICMAC and a
they're good.
COO and the other two are from SC. They're really, really interesting, but I, compared to them in comparison size,
Really small.
That's why they were talking about leadership alignment. It's the most successful RMCs, which that was interesting. They talked about how to deliver rebate checks and things. And some of I'm cynical because, a lot of our businesses don't have options to go to a different utility company. So I don't know how much money, investing in Pacer tickets for a CEO of a company may not be the best PR on my end because who's to say that the CEO uses it? You'd be better off to do something for staff members. But I was a little cynical on some of the things, but they said the easiest way for your board to build a strong culture, all you need is communication and commitment. So I wanted to text you, like, we don't really need a meeting. We just need communication.
Just text them.
I almost texted you, like, and then they were talking about with your board having friction-free environments, the board aligning is the best thing. But it was interesting, like everything, networking and talking with people.
Sure.
Just hearing, and there were 2 gentlemen from SCI that sat behind me that I met and talked with for a while. That was interesting. So yeah,
Good. Good.
it's a pretty interesting day. It was a long day.
Sure. But thanks for
Really,
sharing.
really nice.
It is nice. It is nice.
She sent me a picture of me.
You saw the picture. It's almost
I'm
a
getting my
famous
coffee.
picture.
You're not the only one that sent me that.
I took it from swear.
So I should be getting royalties from that.
All right, anybody else have anything that they went through training on or?
One other thing I'd like to add, I had a committee meeting for the magazine. I don't know how I got put on that committee, but at IEC, there is no rate increase, even though there was one large co-op that pulled out of the magazine. And mainly because the way they have the rate structured is that the printing costs come way down and a lot of the costs come way down when someone pulls out, so they didn't have to do any type of rate increase. The other thing is there was a survey done on the magazine, and it's almost hard to believe because the survey came back that even the younger crowd wants the written magazine, which is odd in my mind. And it's a statistical survey. I don't know. I questioned it, but anyway, no cost increase on the magazine. They are going to target a little bit more of travel, as far as like giving just more tips on places to go and like having like an agenda for folks that would want to travel. So I thought that was kind of cool. And we were highlighted as, and you're going to hear it in the board meeting, we were highlighted as one of the co-ops that take advantage of being able to customize a certain amount of pages. We utilize that almost every month. So like our fiber stream announcement, that was all on our front page. So that's all custom and it's part of our dues. So that was neat. Congratulations, Abby.
Congratulations. Anybody else have anything? Which leads us to the next item. IC director, voting delegate. The annual meeting takes place, the IC annual meeting takes place in December. And so at that time of the year for us to determine the IC director. And I'm currently that person. And I'll go ahead and state now that I will be glad to continue in that role, but certainly if there's someone else that is interested, by all means, let us know. I don't know if we need a formal.
You do.
We need a formal.
Yeah.
We need a formal nomination then. We have a first. We have a second. Are there any other nominations? I don't know if we have to formally close the nominations.
No, I think you're good.
We're good. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. All right. Thank you, everyone.
What about the annual meeting? Sorry, did I not put that on there?
What about the annual meeting?
You need a voting delegate.
Oh, no, you do have that on there. My bad. Yeah, so we need a voting delegate.
So it's gonna be.
And I know we've had various people have that role. I think Ryan, did you have that last year or was it the year before?
I think it's Dale's turn.
I've had it. I knew you've had it before as well.
I'm not making.
Are you gonna be there?
Oh, you're gonna
12,
go-
12/8, 12/9.
I just said to Jason, I put it on my calendar, I haven't decided, I was certainly considering.
Okay. Now, the one thing, calendar's wide open. But he has to check. He has to check. So you're willing to take that role?
If I go, yes.
If you go. I suppose we could even have an alternate. But you nominated, did you say, Ryan, you nominated Dale?
Yeah.
We have a first.
Oh,
Second. First and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The plan will be for you to do that. We've helped make your decision, haven't we?
Now you got something on your calendar.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll go.
I'll be there. All right, any updates from hometown, Brian? None. How about you, Jason, from Hoosier?
No board meeting in September, but we did have the CEO evaluation on place board meeting in September.
Okay.
Does it change? Normally we do that in October. We have meetings every week in October, so they moved in September this year.
Oh,
Very good.
a nice change. And as far as the IC board, we did not meet. So we will in October. So really, I have nothing else. Anybody have anything else before we have a motion to adjourn? Take a motion. All right, we are adjourned. We will go in, but if you need a quick break, we'll go into executive session.